Well, welcome to our second stream of the day. Welcome to our part two of our discussion of the Wheel of Time. So I have here two first-time readers. Allow me to bring them on.
Hello.
Hello. And our second first-time reader. Welcome,
Hi,
Blue.
guys.
Hello, Blue.
Hi.
Today, we're just going to be talking about the Wheel of Time. So, we are going to be first discussing the Dragon Reborn, then New Spring. Well, no, then Shadow Rising, and then we'll conclude with New Spring. So this is kind of the outline of what we're going to be doing, just in case. And just so you know, this is full spoilers. If you are not caught up with at least the Shadow Rising, I would not advise watching this, since this is going to be full spoilers for not only these two books, but the two books previous, and then New Spring. So I would very much advise not watching this stream if you don't want to be spoiled. But if you don't care, or if you have read it, feel free to stick around. Anyway, let's kind of start off with the Dragon Reborn. Kind of the main... so the overall plot is... we kind of start off in the mountains of Mist, near Tarabon, and Randall Thor has declared himself the Dragon Reborn. He's got a small camp of Shinaran soldiers, and they're kind of camping out waiting. And then a Trolloc attack happens, and he decides that he's going to try and end the problem with Baalsmund by trying to go to find Kalendor, the sword that is not a sword, which is one of the most powerful male Sa'angreal, or magic amplifiers in this world.
It's like the third most powerful thing in the world.
Yeah. And so Perrin, Moraine, Landman, her warder Lan, and Loyal all go after him to try and get to him before he gets to Tyr. And while that is happening, Matt, Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine are taking Matt to the White Tower to be healed of his affliction with the dagger. And while they're there, the Amelin Seat gives the three girls a task to hunt down the Black Aja, who are basically Aes Sedai, who are dark friends. And there's a group of 13 that have disappeared, and they figure out, and they eventually decide that they need to go to Tyr as well to find them. And then Matt goes on a journey of his own through some shenanigans and ends up in Tyr, and so does Rand. Basically, all roads point to Tyr. Have I left anything out in that very, very, very long, very rushed, very bare bones summary?
No.
Yeah, it's a good bare bones summary.
Yep. All right. So, kind of starting off with Perrin, this is kind of a, like, I think Crow actually put it best, like, just before, we're going in the wake of Rand with a lot of this, and kind of learning more about, like, how Tiviran works, but also how being a wolf brother works.
Absolutely, yeah. So at the start of the very book, it's mostly from Perrin's perspective. They're just talking about what the camp looks like, which basically they made a bunch of temporary stone huts to stay in, while him it's mostly his interactions with Min at this point, with other characters like Uno and Moraine and Lan and Loyal. As they're just basically waiting. They're waiting for everything to calm down below. They're waiting for the sign to move, and they've been waiting all winter.
Yeah.
So like a good 4 months they've been waiting.
Yeah, since one thing that's kind of has happened is with the political state of this world, because Randall Thor declared himself, and because everybody saw him in the sky fighting what looked like the Dark One, and we find out at the end of this that he wasn't actually the Dark One, but we'll get to that eventually. I already told you full spoilers, so if you complain in chat, that's just your opinion. But because of this, the two nations are basically split apart. Two nations are split apart in war and and civil war specifically.
Yep.
And so he can't go down and reveal himself, because there's probably a lot of people that will try to kill him.
Yeah, and on top of this civil war, they're now fighting this third faction who are trying to declare themselves loyal to the dragon. Because when the dragon appears, followers are always trying to join him.
Mm-hmm.
I also liked the inclusion of the one crazy guy that's just running around. That had traveled with him before. I forgot the character's name.
Massima?
Yeah.
Massima. He's in the camp at this point.
Oh yeah, that's right. So that's
that doesn't happen until after everybody disperses from the camp.
That's right. It just constantly ends up coming back up though. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, he's still doing that somewhere.
Yeah, he's declaring himself the prophet of the dragon by one of the books, and I forget which one. It's either this one or the next one. I'm certain Massima is going to become a major plot point at some point.
He has to, right? As much as he keeps coming up.
Because when we first met Massima in did we meet him in Eye of the World, or was it in The Great Hunt?
He's the guy who says, he's the guy.
Rand.
Yeah, he thinks that. Yeah, he hated Rand. He thought, oh, he looks like an Aielman.
Yeah, now he's trying to be Rand's prophet. It's good gracious.
Yeah, and then I think at the end of 4 at 5, it's kind of just wow, Gillidan is going toward the prophet.
Yep.
But we also, at the prologue, we also get some setup for book 4, where we see Padan Fain playing the Wormtongue role and making it so that the White Cloaks go into the Two Rivers, or at least are now interested in the Two Rivers.
Yep. Padan Thane has not gone with the San-Chan like I thought he was. He somehow snuck around, double back, and now he's with the White Cloaks. Mm-hmm. I'm confused how. Well, then again, there's 4 months time skip, so he's had plenty of time to get there, I suppose.
Yeah. There is another interesting reveal. We find out who the man they call Bors is in this book.
Yes, he's a questioner.
Yep. Yeah, he's... Oh, go for it, Blue.
Didn't we already kind of know that, though, because of how they described his cloak? Because only the...
Well...
Or was this the book where they told us that that's what that cloak was?
We knew he was a White Cloak before this, but now we know he's
no, but
charge.
They told us he had the red crook or whatever on his cloak too.
Yeah, the red. Yeah. So we get to find out specifically who he is. We get to find out that so this is the guy who is directing the stuff in Almouth Plain and sent Jeffrey Bornhold to his death, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Because Jeffrey Bornhold is an actual military threat. They needed him out of the picture as quickly as possible.
Yep.
And now, so Born, what's the guy's name? I want to make sure I get these names right.
Jeff from Bornhold, but you also have Jarrett Byer.
Jarrett Byer.
He's the White Cloak that was loyal to him.
No, I'm not. So Byer arrives back in the White Cloak city,
Amador.
Thalmador. He speaks with the king, Lord Commander, the
Lord Captain Commander Pedro
who gives the big line about how you handle a situation. You let a lion roam free, and then when the people are desperate enough, then you come and save them.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you look like double the hero.
Yep.
And I'm like, listening to that is like, that's going to bite you back so hard.
It's so hard for me to listen to the White Cloaks talk. The only one I liked is dead now.
Yeah. The only one we liked is dead. And his son's a bastard, but we'll be getting him next book.
Indeed. Yes. But kind of a lot of this is kind of like Perrin. I think the most pivotal moment for Perrin is finding Gnome. Is on the journey to Tyr. They encounter another wolf brother. But this wolf brother is not the same as Elias. This guy seems like he's lost his marbles.
Yeah, he believes he is a wolf. He's lost everything that made him human, except for physical form.
Yeah. I think that one thing that I think like the gnome's brother Simeon.
Simeon, yes.
Yeah.
I love Simeon. Simeon quickly became a favorite character.
Yeah. I think that what it like one of my favorite is just like it's especially like Michael Kramer's delivery is, but I need your help, but I warn you, he killed a cow with his teeth.
Simeon was just so friendly. He's so nice. Like he was the nicest guy.
Yeah, he's just a nice, chill dude.
I love how the book describes him as looking like a frog, and then by the end of that chapter, Perrin regrets thinking of him like that. It's a lot about that type of character.
Yeah. And more kind of that's what Perrin struggles a lot with in this book. Or at least like he struggles with this, and in book 2 as the next book as well, he's always got Gnome in the back of his mind.
Yeah. Well, because there's still so much that's up in the air about it. Like, is there something he can do or not do to have that fate, or is it just certain people? Like, it gives him this, harsh, this could happen to you, but there's no how. So,
yeah.
Was Gnome just watching him deal with that? What did Gnome do? Did Gnome do something wrong? Did he stay too long thinking of the wolves?
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, Perrin, he just wants to be a blacksmith. It's all he wants is just to be a blacksmith. He's a very simple man with simple needs.
I also really liked him meeting that other tinker woman again because he had a very different reaction this time as opposed to the first time when he was in their camp, and his reaction to the way of the leaf was just kind of, that's kind of dumb, but whatever. Whereas this time, it almost made him angry, but because he almost seemed jealous,
Yeah.
I wish I could live this way.
Right.
But it's just a dream, unfortunately.
A dream of spring.
And then, unfortunately, the Tinker woman dies in the Trolloc attack.
Yeah, poor Leah. And
then gives him some really bad omens.
Yeah.
The most notable one is a falcon trying to attach a collar around his neck.
Well, a hawk and a falcon, and the hawk is trying to put the collar around his neck.
Oh, right. It's the hawk.
Yep.
The hawk is the one trying to do it. The falcon is fighting her or something, I think.
Yep.
And we'll find out things about that later.
Yes. In this, we meet Perrin's love interest, Fail Bashir, who they immediately get along so well.
Oh, they hate each other.
Yeah.
So he meets Vahil at an inn where 2 hunters of the horn have gathered, and they're boasting and bragging about how they took on like 20 Aiel men, because the Aiel have left the waste at this point. They're traveling all over the place, and they managed to kill like all but one of them. And this one they captured, and they have him hanging in a cage outside of town, which is true.
But it was just one other Aielman.
It's just one other Aiel man. Who's Blue? Do you remember what the name was? Sometimes they
Gaul.
Gaul.
Well, Gaul was the one in the kit. Yeah, I don't think they named the one that died, but
No, they don't name the ones that died, but
I think it's
Gaul is an important character.
I think it's Arian or something.
Yeah, but that's with.
I love Gaul too. Him and Perion
Gaul.
and their commiserations with each other over women are great.
It's like women are like the sun; they're not for us to understand.
Do you dance, Perion? What? Then they just beat up a bunch of white cloaks. I love it. So Perion comes to the Aiel man's rescue because he doesn't like seeing people in cages. Lets him out. Him and Gaul immediately fight like 20 white cloaks. And Gaul tells him, if you ever need me, you just let me know. And then he runs away into the darkness.
Yeah.
Well, I think specifically Perion tells him that what he's looking for is in Tyr, right? So he runs towards Tyr.
Yes.
Yeah. And one thing to kind of note is that in this book and the previous book, where you get really introduced to the Aiel and their he who comes with the dawn prophecy, where the Aiel believe that there was somebody who will unite the clans and lead the Aiel to greatness. We see first one and then another group, and it's hinted throughout that Rand is an Aiel throughout. That's like even
heavily hinted.
Yeah,
heavily hinted.
Yeah,
practically told to you if you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, yeah. Where it's like,
Urian
could have been your cousin, and if that lady told, and if I think it's what's her name, Leon. If Leon put on a dress and said she was your aunt, you believe her. Yeah. And we kind of get full confirmation in The Shadow Rising, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
So, with this we eventually all roads go to Tyr.
Yeah.
But we do have Fael. I think Fael and Perrin's interaction where she says, I call myself Mondarb. And he immediately starts laughing.
Why is that funny? Because that's the name of that horse over there.
I will tell you something, farm boy. In the old tongue, Mondarb means blade.
Yes.
You see that black horse over there? His name is Mondarb. Whereas she just like, Leia, and he is the best horse in the book, apart from Bella.
Bella. Yeah, I was actually beginning to miss Bella by the end of this book. It's like, the horses don't have characters. Why am I missing this one horse? Bella?
I think it's because the characters love her so much.
I mean, it's Rand's last connection to home.
Yeah.
He lost the sword last book.
Yeah. And he gained another Heron Mark brand to fulfill that particular prophecy, where once the Heron to set his path, twice the Heron to set him true, once the dragon for remembrance lost, twice the dragon for the price you must pay.
Yeah.
I really like these books. I'm such a nerd.
It's very clearly well thought out, where it's kind of obvious if you're paying attention and looking for them where the signs are pointing you, but they could still be easily interpreted in other directions in different ways.
Well, and especially because they did, at first it seemed like the White Tower was kind of controlling things through Moraine, but at a certain point, well, really this point where Rand just kind of goes off on his own, he really changes things dramatically from where you thought they might be going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where just if I could get some thoughts from you, where did you originally think that this book was gonna go, or at least these two books were gonna go before you started reading them?
I mean, I kind of felt like it was going to go a route with him collecting people, sort of as he ends up doing, but I thought he was going to start in, I forget which town, the one Moraine wanted him to start in.
Ilion,
I think, yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting him to be in the mountains for all winter.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to break away from Moraine this early, and I didn't expect him to make, well, I guess that's jumping ahead a little, but I didn't expect him to go to the waste that early.
I kind of half expected, like at some point during this book, that Moraine and Rand were going to have a fight using the power. Because it's been obvious Rand wants to try to get as far away from Moraine as he possibly can. And it may actually come to blows. But he just snuck away in the night, and it becomes yet another chase. At that point, it's like, okay, I hope the next book doesn't have a chase scene in it because it's starting to get a little tiring.
Which is the most, I thought it was funny. Like, I don't know, as seriously as Moraine takes herself, the fact that she was thwarted by essentially a teenage boy going, "No, Mom, you can't make me," and running off.
I never even thought of it that way. But it's absolutely true. That's what happened. It's not a phase, Mom.
You can't tell me what to do, Mom.
You're not my real mom.
My mom's dead.
My mom's dead. It may not even be my real mom.
Yeah, both my moms are dead.
I never knew my father.
Yeah.
And Lan is definitely the father role in all of this too, because he's like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's like,
it's actually getting clear. Lan's kind of sick of Moraine shit too.
Yeah, especially with like how she's going to pass his bond over to Mirella Sedai after she dies.
Well, but like, okay,
foreshadowing.
Let's be real. She even said she was supposed to pass her bond off to someone else. She intends to make him Nynaeve's warder, right? Like, that's where this is all leading.
Yeah, that's obviously where it's going.
And the fact that he doesn't get that is a little weird to me.
Because everybody else in the book seems to get it.
Right, like, it's super obvious.
It's like almost obvious. Even Nynaeve gets it when she finds out in the next book. That's the thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I love Lan. He's the greatest swordsman in this entire book. Like, incredibly intelligent, but he has no people skills. He just does not understand people at all.
Yeah, even in like the prequel, which we'll get to later on in the stream, he just doesn't have like people skills. He's kind of awkward.
He's very direct and to the point.
Which I love so much. It's low-key adorable.
Yeah, I love Lan. Lan's great. And it's kind of cool that like they've got they actually have a really cool guy, Daniel Henney, playing him in the TV show. Ooh. He did an Instagram Q&A, and as a straight man, I have to say Daniel Henney is a gorgeous specimen of a human being.
Of course you would say something like that, Dunn.
Yeah, he's a very, very attractive man.
So yeah, and by the time they leave the camp as well, Moraine sends men off to the White Tower, and all the Shynarans, they go off they're supposed to go home. I don't think any of them actually went home.
No, they're all in Gildon, based on what we find out later on.
And Uno has to be throwing a goddamn fit. We're supposed to go home. We're supposed to be prepping for the battle. We're going to have to go into the Blight at some point. Because that's where all of this is going to end, is in the middle of the Blight.
Yep. Actually, it's going to end up north in Shale Ghul, which is beyond the blight.
Beyond the blight, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And then I think and then we kind of Fail and Perrin kind of spar verbally a lot.
they have a duel of wits, essentially.
Duel of wills, I think, because he refuses to call her by he calls her Zareen.
Zareen, her
and
real
not,
name. Yeah.
And not Fail, the name that she's taken for herself.
Which means
Falcon. Yeah. And I think this is a kind of a tropey relationship in a lot of ways, at least how they start getting together.
They hate each other at first.
But to be fair, I mean, if you're gonna use a romance trope, enemies to lovers is a good one.
It is a good one. It makes sense of how it goes down too, because I don't know if we want to save how Perrin's particular role in this story ends for the end of the Rand part.
We can talk about it right here since he doesn't really play into the end of Rand. We can just talk about that.
Which is a disappointment for me in this book, because Perrin, he's the character we follow the most throughout this entire story. And they get all the way to Tyr, which is a disgusting mud hole of a city.
Yeah.
They go
blatant disparity of wealth.
Yes. They go through that one city that has Perrin's also the character we go through when they find out that after we meet Viheel, that the Forsworn are taking over cities. They're integrating themselves as advisors and kings and dukes and whatnot in a variety of different places.
Yeah, we see Samael is an Ilian, and we see that another one of the Forsaken, Belal, is in Tyr, guarding this in the stone on itself.
And then they have to run from these shadow hounds or
the dark hounds, yeah.
Dark hounds, yeah. And we find out that Moraine can shoot balefire.
Yes. Which so what would you say balefire is?
I believe the book describes it as this white hot fire.
I've read far enough to know, so I won't comment.
Okay. So it's actually revealed what mechanically it is in book 5. So I'll kind of just what would be your theorization of what it does? Since we see its effect, anything it touches just kind of vanishes. What do you think? It's so hot that it turns into motes, or what do you think?
It almost seems like it's disintegration. It transports them. Based on things we find out in the 5th book, which I'm going to just do a little bit of spoilers because this is kind of filling my imagination. Because when we first heard about balefire, I was like, oh, okay, there's some super pure source of the power in the form of some sort of fire beam. Then we find out some things about in the 5th book where it seems like everything before the breaking of the world, it seems like the world was like a magitech society.
Yeah.
They had technology, but it kind of had a magical twist to it.
Yeah, we had warder cloaks used to be the height of fashion, essentially.
Yeah. And then we had hovercrafts and
I was gonna say, yeah, they brought in some pretty high-tech sounding stuff.
Yeah. And communications, when the soldiers were just saying we had instant communications that are being jammed right now. It's okay, so we're going with this whole so I'm assuming that the power might actually be nano machines or something. And another character talks about one of the Forsworn we meet in the next book talk about traveling through space. And it's okay, so maybe it's the laser beam she's shooting from her hands. Maybe it's just something as stupid simple as that.
It's actually cooler than that. I think it's one of the most creative, offensive magic things I've ever seen in a book.
Yeah, mechanically it's really cool. I don't want to spoil it for Crow, though, so we should probably move away from this.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to a new element with Perrin and Egwene, but for Perrin and Egwene, but we'll talk about it here. And that is Teleron Riad, or the Wolf Dream.
Yes.
The World of Dreams. and Perrin starts seeing visions of things in Teleron. Like he sees Lanfear and Baalzamon talking, as well as Samael and Belal and Ishamael talking.
And it's interesting to see Lanfear talk to Bahal, because Bahal is the Dark One. Or is he? Because Lanfear basically tells him off. It's like, whoa, that's your boss. This is like the guy who's supposed to destroy the world, and you're telling him to F off? And he's kind of submitting to you.
Or at least he's letting you get away with it.
He's letting you get away with it, which either means the Dark One is in such a weakened position that he's not as strong as he should be. Or, as I theorized, I think in the last video, I said something that maybe the Dark One's able to like take different forms, and Bahal is just one of these aspects of him. And that really fed into that theory. Yeah.
And they do set up from even the beginning that he's the betrayer of hope.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Eye of the World, you see the betrayer of hope is Shamaya. You see his name, like he says, my name was Elamoran Tedranai, and then Luz Theron says, the betrayer of hope. And then it says later, Ishamael, betrayer of hope. Moraine says it. And then the Forsaken Agenor says, like Ishamael, we are free to walk the world.
So it's just whoever the Dark One is possessing at that whatever particular moment.
Sure.
Bahal,
let's go with that.
Something sort of like that. And Bahal was just like the first one to get out, so that's the one he took. It's kind of what it's hinted and described a little bit as.
I got a different impression, but I'm not sure which book I gathered said impression in, so I don't want to say anything in case it's past where Crow read.
So we actually, like, from like third-party material, this is not a spoiler, this is kind of just how it worked. Was Ishamael was only semi-bound, and like that's actually kind of hinted at it by Varen's writings, and that kind of comes out when Egwene talks about it and like says like it was probably Ishamael. Basically, Ishamael was around very briefly during the two crux points of history every 1,000 years. The first one was for the Trolloc Wars, where he orchestrated it. We see hints of it where it says Baalzamon, or Heart of the Dark, was the banner of Baalzamon
right
at the Trolloc hordes. And that's what gives Rand the idea that it is the Dark One, because he calls himself Baalzamon. And then, as he himself says, he was Arthur Hawkwing's advisor during Arthur Hawkwing's reign. And that's what...
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah. For a while, I thought it was, like, metaphorical.
Egwene mentions all this at the end of the... this book.
Yeah. But then we kind of see more stuff but going back to like the World of Dreams, we see so much, we kind of see like, okay, so there's this dreamscape where everything has a reflection, even other worlds, and nearly anything is possible. And part of the thing that happens is when they get to Tyr, Belal sets a trap for Moraine, but Fail accidentally walks into it. So Perrin has to rescue her and get her out. And he basically gets transported to the World of Dreams, and he can't get out until he gets Fail out.
Which was so sweet. I was like, oh my goodness, Perrin. So romantic.
Oh, what a girl.
What? Don't point out the obvious, Crow.
I think it's just like, it's he's going after his lady. He understands he likes her now.
Yeah.
At the end, he calls her Fael, my falcon, which is
And yeah, that was cute. And we bring back the wolf that died because he's alive in the dream.
Hopper! Hopper comes back. Yay!
It made me so happy
And
to know that
Hopper's a
wolves don't really
badass.
die, that they're all alive in the dream, and then they went and they crushed that dream.
yeah. If you die in the wolf dream, you ain't coming back.
Die in the dream, you die in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hopper's there, and like Hopper talks about like being in the dream, and then he jumps and he actually flies with the eagles. And it's like, yay! I was so happy. And then the next book happened, and I was like, oh no!
I know.
No, I don't want to lose him again.
Yeah. And it's more just like not even like their souls, like they'll be like spun out by the wheel ill. And
They're done.
yeah. But if like you die in the wolf dream, it's like no more reincarnations for you, buddy. No more pass go and get $200. Yeah.
Unfortunate. Huh?
I think
Maybe he leaves the head. Yeah. That's pretty much it for Perrin.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, we do also get the coolest moment with Loyal. Loyal,
Yeah.
too.
no
Where
one
when
shall
it-
get past me, Perrin. Not Murdrol, nor the Dark One himself.
and I was like, oh, shit, I forget. Loyal is a big dude. He's so friendly and gentle. You forget that it's like 10 feet tall and broad as a tree.
Yeah, he's like for reference, he's like I think like the way he's described is he is bigger than Hagrid from Harry
he's
Potter.
a massive. Everywhere he's going, he's almost like hitting the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they
Yeah,
talk about
because
him
he's
making a
no gear.
Clydesdale look like a pony, so.
Yeah. A giant like basically a Clydesdale horse.
Yeah.
On
And
this
for those of you who
guy.
don't know anything about horses, Clydesdales are the really, really big horses. Those are those huge ones that you see in pictures, and you're like, nah, that can't be a real horse. Yeah, and his feet almost drag the ground when he's on one of these things.
Yeah, he's big boy. Big old boy.
And he just wants to write a book, man.
Yeah.
We only see Loyal fight twice so far in the book series. Once with Rand when a Trolloc jumps him in Kyrian. I think I got their city right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of names and stuff in this book that are kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's a criticism I have for the books. Like some of these characters could use like slightly different sounding names. Case in point is Egwene and Elaine.
Yeah.
Yes. That gets me all the time where I'm like, wait, who's talking?
Yeah, especially because sometimes the editing in the audiobooks we're listening to, they're messed up. Sometimes they actually either it's a bad read from the performance or it's somebody their script is wrong. But they definitely say Elaine a couple of times when they're talking through Egwene's POV.
Yeah. I think like that's sometimes like something that like actually kind of makes me chuckle a bit in an audiobook. So in a Redwall book, what happened was since it's a radio play and the author is reading it, what happened was he accidentally read one of the names wrong, and another cast member and a cast member actually corrected him in the recording. So he's reading and he says like the character's name is Fenna, and he accidentally said Springgold kept pace with Penna, and the actor said Fenna ace Penna, and she starts giggling, and he resumes Springgold kept pace with Fenna. It's one of my favorite things ever. It's just like it's kind of the only gaffe in the Redwall audiobooks, but yeah.
Yeah.
The next plot line is Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve.
I
This,
love this picture for Nynaeve, how she's pulling on her braid.
yeah, I quite like it too. It's actually from the graphic novel.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah, that's Nynaeve.
yep,
That face.
yeah. And then you have Elaine. There's actually only like a couple of I've managed to find a couple of Elaine pics. Like I tried to find like as different artwork as I could for each of the slides. But basically Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve come back and they're not treated with any amount of dignity or sympathy for what they've been through.
No, because nobody believes them that they got kidnapped.
Well, because they're not allowed to say they got kidnapped.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which kind of sucks.
No, they just have to be treated as bad runaways, bad children,
Bad,
clean pots.
bad, smack. And you
Literally.
come back and you're carrying this strange man strapped to this cart. Poor Matt.
Yeah, poor Matt, where he's just like, and he like shouts at the Aes Sedai, in the old tongue, I am no Aes Sedai meat. During his healing, it's just like, Matt, dude,
Shut up. Thinking he was crazy. So Egwene, Nynaeve, Elaine, they come back to the White Tower, and they are punished severely.
yeah, which is kind of rough on them. And I think like one of the things about this that kind of just works really well is just you immediately are sympathetic to these poor girls who have done nothing wrong.
Which are also sympathetic to the Armelin because she knows why. She believes them, but she can't let other sisters onto the fact that she believes them because of who the Black Aja are.
Maybe it's not like necessarily that. Like I think like probably it's like appearances. She's saying like ran away, and like I think part of it's also not to start a panic because if they let them know that the Black Aja did it, then
Yeah, like it wasn't just those 13 that ran away and stole some stuff from the tower. We also have Black Aja that are giving away accepted
to Sean Shan.
to Strongstead. Yeah, like that's not a good look for the White Tower, especially with Queen Morgaze already breathing down their necks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Morgaze is a terrifying character. 'Cause she is like, this lady is like one little trip up from just going to war with anybody nearby. She's kind of crazy.
Yeah, she is like, you, my friend, have royally effed up. Where's my daughter?
Yeah. Where's my daughter?
Yep, she went full on Mama Bear.
Where is the heir to my kingdom?
She is on a retreat. Bull crap.
Oh, shit.
And they're basically like set to investigate, but for whatever reason, so first they're raised to accepted, and we didn't get to talk about the accepted. I don't know if we got to talk about the accepted test last time.
I think we did
We
for
talked about Nynaeve's.
Nynaeve's, right?
Yeah. I think we did, yeah. And we get to see Egwene's accepted test, which is it's interesting because this test is actually foreshadowed in the Great Hunt, where you remember when they go through the portal stones?
Yes.
All three of the events from this testing were set up in there.
Yeah.
They were.
It was interesting to me too that literally all of hers revolved around Rand, which I mean makes sense, him being Tyviran and all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like the first one was just like she like gets like headaches. He gets headaches, and she eventually dies. And then the next one is she kills him, so the Trollocs don't get him, and he thanks her for doing it. And then she's the Amerlin saying she'll gentle him.
Yeah. All 3 times she has to.
See, and this one's really important because the Amerlin who never took the oaths and knows how to use balefire.
Yeah, I want to know that one.
That
That's a story that would be interesting.
That is so interesting because when that happened, is like, oh, obviously it's because she's taking her test. Subconsciously, she knows she's taking her test, but now that you actually brought up, because I didn't catch on to the fact that all 3 of those things were set up. I was like, oh, they may actually be experiencing different realities when going through that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
So now that's interesting. I want to see that story. I want to see the story of an Egwene Amerlin who did not take the oaths. I want to see it. I want to see what our Green Sister's going to do.
Yeah, she's cool. Egwene's cool. And like even like potential happenings of Egwene are cool.
Yeah. Egwene is definitely my favorite character.
Yeah. And we get to, they all get raised to accepted, so they have more freedom, but also it's the hazing period. When you're a novice, you can kind of be like coddled a little bit, like, okay, here's some chores, here's some leniency. Okay. When you're accepted, the first few weeks, you get hazed to make sure you like are able to go through with it.
Yep.
Which is kind of like, you'd think that the test to be accepted alone would be hazing enough, but nope.
No, it gets better.
It gets better. It gets frickin' better.
Oh, it always gets better.
Yeah.
Hello, Fernando.
Hi.
Hi.
Out of the day. But I really kind of want to see. I think Elaine might have had something similar to Egwene happen.
Had to be.
Yeah. Yeah, all we know is that she said, I did something horrible. And I love Nynaeve's saying of like the only description that Egwene gives that Nynaeve has ever given is, I hate Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
Nynaeve scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially since she just kind of does balefire on her own at one point.
She just does it. And then she doesn't treat it like it's any big deal.
Yeah. And I think like at one point one person says, "Bring your lightnings, Aes Sedai. I will dance with them."
Nynaeve's like, all right.
And she just does it to a bunch of a trio of fades. But getting ahead of ourselves, we see Lanfear actually helping them, which is interesting. She takes the form of Elsa Grinwell, a character who appeared in book 1, was mentioned in book 2, and I imagine that she killed Elsa Grinwell. Well, no. After Elsa Grinwell was taken out of the tower, because she was, Lanfear just assumed her shape and then wandered around the tower for a little bit.
Yeah, it's explained in this book that Elsa was failed her novice training and was sent out along with another boy that she supposedly has been sleeping with.
Oops.
Oopsie-daisy.
Yep.
They were given enough silver to get a farm and have a happy life together, essentially.
Yeah.
Which I was like, well, sucks that she can't be Aes Sedai, but that was actually kind of nice of them.
Yeah, we aren't gonna totally like throw you out on your ear. Here's a little
No,
bit.
you can't be a warder. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. And they find some clues that Lanfear drops for them which is kind of like, okay, why?
Why?
Yeah, that is interesting because it's like everything that's been shown so far, she's really jealous of Rand. So it's interesting that she would go out of her way to help them. But
It is revealed that it's a trap to get Rand.
It absolutely is a trap. So yeah, they go down into the cellar below the library. And I just love the whole scene with Nynaeve in the crowbar.
Yeah. And then, like, she conjures a crowbar of air, and then...
No, it needs to be bigger. And she makes it bigger. Meanwhile, Egwene, because last book we found out she's close to Earth, is able to, like, tough it up in there. She's, like, trying to break the chains through her earth bending. And then Nynaeve is like, move! And just slams a crowbar into it. And it comes apart so easily because Egwene's been working on the chain the entire time.
Yeah, it's really funny. But we also...
Why didn't you say anything? It's like, I thought it wasn't important.
And as they leave, they drop one little thing off. They give Matt a little letter, which we'll discuss in Matt's section. But then they leave to go to Tyr, and they encounter, on their way, the ship runs on a mudflat, and then they encounter a group of Maidens of the Spear.
Yes.
And describe the Maidens of the Spear for me.
Blue, do you want to do it? I kind of dominate the conversations whenever I'm in them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked their interactions and how confused they seem because the girls at this point are passing themselves off as Aes Sedai, and the maidens have an idea of what Aes Sedai should be, and the girls very clearly don't meet it. But they also have very strict rules about not hurting women that aren't maidens themselves, and especially not Aes Sedai. So they're very helpful towards them, and there's a whole bunch of I don't know, I guess you would say culture shock hijinks.
Yeah.
Aiel aren't used to water. And from what it's described, the river is not a very big river, but that much water scares them. They're not used to being around that much water. It's so interesting to see that because they're from a desert location, but the culture shock of just having that much water. They said they saw somebody doing weird emotions in the water and they were terrified. And Nynaeve's like, she was swimming.
Yeah.
That's the thing we do here.
And you get an interesting sort of sense of how good the wise women are with the power too, because they're all shocked when Nynaeve can actually heal their friend. Like, they've heard of it being done by a wise woman before, but it's not common enough that any of them believed it was actually a thing.
Yeah, mostly they use herbs. Herbs, it seems.
Yes. So when Nynaeve starts pulling out all the herbs and stuff, they're like, I thought you were going to use the power to heal. She's like, shut up! Because Nynaeve can only channel when she's angry.
Yeah. And another thing, like, she has another block in that she needs herbs to heal things initially. But then, like, when she is forced to heal Elaine, she, like, says, oh, doing it without the herbs was like tearing off my own skin.
It's hysterical to me. Like, she has a healing foreplay, basically, and that's great.
Yeah.
I love Nynaeve. Nynaeve is because it's described as she's the most powerful of the three. But she can only do it when she's very, very angry.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what her character is going to be like when she can get over that anger blockage. If she's ever able to actually do it.
She does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like Nynaeve's arc throughout this book, and kind of like it's kind of Egwene and Nynaeve kind of being petty toward each other, but I think that it makes sense relatively because she's the wisdom and Egwene is kind of like flexing her muscles a little bit.
Yeah, because it's in the first book, Egwene was Nynaeve's student for being wisdom of Emond's Field.
Yeah,
And
and
now
they
they're both students again.
yeah, and in the tower at first, at least, Nynaeve was accepted, whereas Egwene wasn't yet. And now that they're both accepted, there's a little bit more wait, why am I supposed to listen to you?
Yeah. I mean, there's only like 5 years difference between the two of us.
Two of them, yeah. And Elaine's kind of playing the peacemaker.
Poor Elaine. She doesn't know what she stepped into.
Or trying to. She's like, I've been studying to be queen, and I still don't know if my diplomacy skills are up to the task.
Oh, Elaine has some good jabs at the both of them throughout all of this, too. Elaine is not just a pretty blonde airhead. She is a queen in training. And I love that about her. She's very soft, very gentle, but she's not stupid. I love that.
Like, she's actually like the most knowledgeable out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she's like, but there is kind of the element of like, you're technically my subject to Egwene, and you don't recognize it. And she's like, no, I'm not part of the part of Andor. I'm part of the Two Rivers. That's part of Andor. No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. Acceptance. It doesn't matter to the White Tower. So,
yeah. And then they reach Tyr.
Can I just take a moment to say every time they get on a boat, I expect it to be Doman.
which is funny because Mr. Doman does turn up in the next one.
Yeah, he's not in this book, but he's in the next one. I've just gotten so used to recurring characters like that, but
I do be Bail Doman. My ship is called the Spray.
Yeah.
And why do you be you thinking I'll be charging any fees on my vessel?
Which, speaking of his romantic interest, cracks me up so much.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, wait. Has
That's
Crow not
part.
gotten there yet?
How deep into the book are you?
Well, Shadow Rising, he whistles at Aegyanan.
Oh, are you serious? That's going to be a thing? That's a thing? Oh, I'm so excited.
She's like, especially like they try to beat each other up, but we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, we get to Tyr, and they start investigating, and they don't do a good job.
They do not do a very good job. Her investigation skill is very low. The only one who does a good job is Nynaeve, and all she did was find them a hideout.
Yeah, with a hedge doctor.
That was probably my favorite scene in the entire book. Was
Yeah.
her and this medicine woman just going back and forth at each other about the craft.
Yeah. And the nice thing is that lady actually comes back later, but
Yay! Because she
least
was my
in this
favorite
book.
character.
in this book, I won't say whether or not she comes back in other things. We'll see. Yeah. But we see the Black Aja manages to get the private eye / thief catcher that they've enlisted into their cause.
And what's his name again?
Julian Sandar.
Julian Sandar.
I like
And
that
then-
he tries to hit on Egwene. Or no, sorry, Nynaeve.
He's on that. Yeah.
It's like, poor guy, that's not happening.
Sorry, man.
Dude,
You don't want to tap that.
you do not like the only person who would want to tap who's strong enough to tap that and live is Lan.
That is 8 grades of psycho waiting to happen right there.
Yeah. And then they're captured and taken to the Stone of Tyr to be used ostensibly as bait, but it's never really like part of Rand's
That plan
motivation.
kind of fell apart real fast.
It doesn't. He doesn't really like. It doesn't play into Rand. Like it plays into it once, and Belal's like, "Oh, Rand, like you're here."
You're already here.
And it's like,
Oh, we weren't ready for. They weren't expecting Rand to show up.
nope. And we'll get to how they end with Matt Cawthon and Tom Maryland's story.
Yay, Matt and Tom!
I was so happy to have Tom back. It's like, yes.
Yay, Tom!
Yeah,
Why are you in Tarvalin?
because I killed the king of Chiron.
Tom.
And I like that his whole like reason for going with Matt at first is just to be an emo kid and be like, maybe more gays will kill me. Like, oh my god, Tom.
What the?
Yep. He's like, Camelin.
I don't know why. I always imagine Tom with longer hair than that.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
because I think he's described as shoulder length hair, right?
yeah.
I always imagine like longer than shoulder length hair too. It's like all the way like to the mid of his back, just like this big mane of white hair.
You just want him to be Gandalf.
Kind of.
Let's go with that. But Matt gets healed of his affliction to the dagger,
Yes.
and he's stuck in Tarvalin, and he gets into, and he wants some money, and he doesn't have any. So what he decides to do is begin a life
Get a job.
gambling.
Like a smart. No, he starts to gamble. And the very first bet he does is that I can beat you two boys up with just a quarterstaff.
And these are two like swordsman guys.
Not just any two swordsmen. They're important characters at this point in the story. It's
Galad Damodred and
Gawain.
Gawain Tricand, Elaine's brother and half brother. And he beats them.
he beats them. And what did the warder say? Remember, this soldier who was the best warrior ever only lost one fight, and it was to a farmer with a bow staff. Never think you're the best. It's like, holy shit, Matt, you should not have won that. Why did you win that? Because up to that point, Matt hasn't really done any fighting.
Yeah.
He only ever used a bow a couple of times in Eye of the World. He didn't do anything to fight with in
Yeah.
Great Hunt because he was never in any of the fight scenes. Outside of, well, no, he was at the Battle of, where was it? What was the city at the end?
Falma?
Falma, yeah, where the Sharn chant, because he rode with the 100.
To be fair, he spent an alarming amount of time just kind of, stroking his dagger like he's Gollum with the ring. So
it's pretty much what was happening.
Yeah. And we did have and then like Matt begins his chronic gambling problem the night he decides to leave.
Yep. And it actually is a plot point because apparently whatever the dagger did to him, it's given him insane luck.
Yeah. Either that or it's his Taveran nature like Rand. Like when you kind of like get into it, Rand's thing like bends chance around him like both good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Where like abruptly marriages and births start like popping up. People
Everybody in that village got married.
I really wish we had gotten to see some of those conversations go down, like just random people going up to each other. So I think we should get married now.
All
right.
Cool.
I'm okay with this.
Sure, why not?
Sure, you're about half my age, but whatever.
Yeah. Just funny stuff like that. And then we see how it affects Matt, where he is now the luckiest man on the face of the planet.
And it's made better by the fact that one of the Tungriel?
Terangriel.
Tungriel that were stolen by the Black Sisters is a set of dice that change luck. That's going to be a thing Matt's going to have to deal with. I know it's going to be a thing. I want to see that gambling battle between him and whatever sister's using that.
Oh my gosh, that will be great. I liked this for his character a lot though, because up until now he had been kind of foolish, like in a funny, lighthearted way, but he did a lot of things that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And then with the gambling, you kind of immediately get to see his smarts because he doesn't just okay, I'm going to sit here and win off the same guy all night. Like, he immediately understands I have to win a little bit here, a little bit there, or I'm going to get the crap beat out of me.
I'm going to get an accurate. And we get that one sailor who starts following him around because he's figured it out, and he just starts betting that Matt's going to win. Instead of like actually trying to kill Matt for the money, he profits it off himself because it'd be easier this way.
Yeah. And then he meets Tom. He meets Tom, who's drinking himself to sleep, because drinking himself into a stupor. And Tom is hitting on these two girls.
One is the innkeeper, and the other one is, I think, her
sister. I think.
Sister.
It's like, and they're okay with it.
I mean, it is Tom.
Yeah, and honestly, like, and they didn't pick like a super like old dude. Like, they picked a guy who's like, you remember in Last Kingdom, the Kjartan, the guy who gets exiled for his idiot son wanted to saw Ragnar's daughter's nakedness, and so he threw him out.
Yes.
Kjartan is playing Tom Maryland.
Oh, nice. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. But basically, Matt and Tom is basically the comedy quote duo of this book.
I love it. Tom's first conversation with Matt is going over his woes. And Matt, at this point, who's still getting over the sickness of the dagger, he has to eat a whole lot to try to get his energy back up. And I just assume that, like, whatever magic's healing him is just converting food to immediate energy for him. Like, he ate 3 chickens, 3 whole, basically what I think is rotisserie chickens.
Yeah, that's a lot of meat.
That is a lot of meat.
And then we see kind of and we see like Matt is being chased by dark friends this whole book, and he thinks it's
really
about
not just any type of dark friend. We should probably get into these enemies before we leave this book.
Yeah, gray men. We get gray men. Yes. Basically, they are unnoticeable people who have had their souls removed completely so that they can act as assassins.
Assassins and spies. And at this point in the book, anytime they just mention anybody nonchalantly, I just assume it's a gray man. Because the book does a wonderful job. It's like, and like there was one in with Perion in it, and it's like going over all the patrons. And it just randomly, like in the middle of the line, it goes, there were 4 guys drinking at the bar, innkeeper moving back and forth, the 5 people approaching us with daggers in their hands, the doorkeep at the bouncer at the door. Wait, hold on, what?
It's so subtle about it. I love it.
I love it.
And also, like, there's a moment in the tower where they see a gray man, and it apparently it tries to kill Egwene in a Nynaeve, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, it missed its shot because they stopped at just the right moment, which I'm noticing happens a lot in this book and the next book. It's just like they play that trope of the guy bends down to pick something up the moment an arrow goes through where his head would have been.
Yeah, which is slightly annoying.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, that's kind of just like, oh, that's kind of lucky. That's like really bad plot. That's kind of aggressive open plot armor.
And
Yeah,
you could see getting away with it with the Taviran, but everyone else, it gets a little much.
Yeah.
It just has like the last second notice or something. Anything else, please. Or maybe the person just missed. Please, we will accept the person missing more than that.
Yeah. But we also basically Tom Maryland, after his lover Dina was killed by Galdry and Ryoton.
Which is a shame. I like Dina.
Yeah. He went and killed the king. It's
Tom
like,
went a little overboard that day.
yeah. He's like, and he goes in. It never shows it, but he says, "You kill a man who needs killing, and it starts a war." So basically, like, Kyrian and Civil War is all Tom Maryland's fault.
And Rand's a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit rants. Yeah,
The Civil War was happening before Tom did that.
yeah.
There were riots happening. And all Rand did was nothing and go to a party.
It's just like, dang, these people are
Kind
like,
of crazy.
yeah, these people are crazy. These people, you are not sick, you are crazy. And then, but we also like as we get, Matt gets onto the boat, and it's going to be probably me doing Matt quotes a lot because I love this. It's just the moment where Matt like gets onto the thing. He's like, "Are you like?" And he's like, the man's demanding like ludicrous prices for his for passage on his ship, and he said, and Matt pays it without question because Matt's rich now.
Yeah, Matt's rich, and the guy's like, "Oh,
Are
you must
you-
be like a noble or something."
Are you, by any chance, a young lord in disguise? I am. Nope.
Nope, I'm
love
just I'm just a dude.
I love how that ends up being a thing for all three of them. Like everybody goes from calling them farm boys to just like insisting that they're lords, even though they don't own anything.
By the end of this, Rand owns Tyr.
Well, that's true.
Technically, Rand's a king.
Yeah, he is. But we get Matt, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know why. I told a tyrant that he should they should get at some Aes Sedai and the Stone of Tyr. Maybe you should suggest the Lord Captain Commander of the White Cloaks that he should marry the Amerlin seat." Because the tyrants hate Aes Sedai. They hate the power. They hate everything to do with Tar Valon.
Which is funny because the stone was made via Aes Sedai. I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
And the Stone of Tyr is basically, it's kind of Erebor, but it's kind of more man-made than Erebor. It's this giant man-made mountain that is an impenetrable fortress. And eventually Matt has to pull a heist to get Egwene and Elaine out. Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine out.
Mm-hmm.
They technically don't really need him.
You know?
I felt so bad for him. He showed up and they're walking out the door. Why are you here? I'm rescuing you.
They actually did need him because they could not open that door otherwise.
It's true.
Which kind of makes Matt an over-glorified doorman. But Matt was also kind of the guy who got everything set off in the stone. Without him, the Aiel may not have gone inside.
Yeah, because you have Matt, and first we see he goes to deliver a letter from Elaine, and she's like, "You wouldn't like," and he's like, "You got any coin?" And he's like, "You wouldn't do a favor for your daughter heir? You ain't my daughter heir.
You ain't my queen. I don't have to listen to you, Mom."
This whole book is, I don't want to listen to you, Mom.
Girls are dumb and icky. That's what this whole book is.
It really is, though.
Yeah.
And the boys kind of prove them right multiple times over. So Matt gets on the boat after winning a whole bunch of cash and then having to fight off like 3 soulless.
Well, Dark Friends.
Dark Friends. No, not one guy had to be a soulless.
I think maybe I think that one of them probably was a soulless, but like they seem like they were at least intelligent. Like they were able to like talk.
Oh, I never thought the soulless were not intelligent.
No, the soulless are basically like they're unnoticeable. Basically, all personality is stripped from them. They don't have like the ability to talk.
Okay.
So it's kind of like they're so ordinary that they are like your eyes slide past them. Is kind of the mechanics of how they work.
Yeah, and the only reason some of the characters actually ever notice them is because they happen to be alone with the soulless.
Yep.
like in a room in a corridor. It's like, oh, there shouldn't be anybody here, no matter how ordinary they look. But Matt and Tom, they go to Canelan, which is I'm getting these names right, correct?
Yep. Yeah. No worries. Yeah. You are. Though I will mention one thing. They meet a woman named Aludra in I think it's not Four Kings. It's something else.
That's after Canelan.
Yeah.
So they go to Canelan, and Matt
gets a bunch of fireworks.
This garden wall at this castle. Rand climbed up this garden wall in Eye of the World, and that's how he met Elaine and her brother
Gawain.
I get the two names confused because once again the names of these characters are too samey.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah. And so he climbs up this garden wall, and eventually he told Matt about it. So Matt, now having to get into the castle, tried to go in through the front gate like a normal person.
But then, somebody said,
no, I'm going to declare you a dark friend. Get out of here.
Yeah, well, because he said White Tower, but didn't mention Elaine. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he climbs up this garden wall, which now leads me to believe that this is the most pointless, useless castle in all of the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
Shad, I don't know why Shad likes this series of books. He should be throwing a fit about this garden wall. Even the captain of the guard who finds Matt goes, God damn, it's that damn garden wall again, isn't it?
I think part of it is that's not the actual city defenses. The city defenses are a little bit better.
Yeah, but it's a wall that leads into the castle that holds the royalty.
Yeah, which is kind of no. Yeah, try again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then before this, we do meet Rand picks up some fireworks, and they are attacked on the road by Dark Friends. And Tom and Matt have an argument about the fireworks. He's like, "What on earth are you doing? Why are you cutting these fireworks open? They could explode. I once did a clock once. It was
not
You would be surprised. Even a very bad clockmaker is a very rich man. But a clock does not explode in your face."
not technically true. There is a spring that can explode in your face and cut your face off. Fun fact.
I don't want to know how you know that, Blue. I'm only going to assume that you pulled that string and a clock exploded on you.
I got into steampunk when I was younger, and there were so many. Anyways, the point is, if you're gonna take apart old clocks, just don't let a professional do it.
Just don't.
Yours aren't worth it.
If you're going to do something dangerous, don't.
Yeah.
And that's the moral of the stream, everybody.
Yep. And Matt, while he's wandering the gardens, discovers a plot to kill the daughter heir by apparently the queen's new boyfriend.
This is why I don't like politics.
Yeah. Because the problem is, he was going to tell her, but he recognizes the voice. That, oh crap, it's the queen's boyfriend who wants to kill the daughter heir. Great.
Yep, so there's a plot, which I believe that this guy may be one of the Forsworn.
The Forsaken?
Forsaken.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong series.
We'll cover Aragon at some point.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a commentary on the movie.
Oh. Well, at least I get to watch Jeremy Irons.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeremy Irons is the best part of that. I would love to have him as actual Braun.
Yeah.
Braun. But, go for it. Sorry.
Yeah, so Matt finds out about this plot to slay Elaine, and now he has to go on a rescue mission to save Elaine, Nynaeve, and Egwene. So he goes and meets up with Tom, and they set off this set of rumors to try to tarnish the boyfriend's reputation in the city before they leave. And throughout this whole thing, running occurrence of dreams has been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where everybody's kind of like dreaming about what Rand is going to do, but nobody really understands it.
Yeah, like literally, like everyone in the world, it seems like.
Yeah. Because he's setting off to fulfill prophecy on his own now. He's kind of doing it by himself. So it's kind of very interesting because it doesn't come up in the next book. It just kind of ended.
Yeah. Well, I think the part of it is just like that particular element of the prophecy has now been fulfilled. He doesn't need to, like, now that it's been fulfilled, it's been fulfilled. And
Yep.
there's like hundreds of prophecies. Like,
So yeah,
like
and so Matt and Tom.
Oh, sorry, go for it.
So Matt and Tom, they both get into a boat and off to Tyr. Now,
Yep.
all the characters are either in Tyr or on their way to Tyr at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one we don't know who is in Tyr is Rand.
Yeah, the way I almost forgot something about Perion. He
Oh, right, the blacksmith.
And he picks up and he works on the forge for a while, and the guy says, "Here, take the hammer," which is definitely going to play a big role in the next few books, where that basically the hammer and the axe are his dueling identities, where he's the warrior and the smith.
Yeah, because he's having to choose between them when he goes to tell Iron Riyadh. I butchered that, but yeah.
No, you got it perfect.
Right, yeah.
Woohoo!
And also, like, I'm not a stickler for pronunciation because, like, Robert Jordan. So you know how the Sean-Shan kind of have a slurred talking. Guess what Robert Jordan described it as?
Southern accents.
Yeah, it's Texas.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, they describe it as like a Texan. He describes it as like a Texan accent, which kind of is really funny to me.
So great.
It's like basically, well, now I got that southern drawl going on. You mainlanders all talk with your fast talking. You got to slow down for me. That was probably terrible, and I probably made so many people in the South frickin' angry. Though if somebody from the South has found me, thank you for listening to the show. We appreciate it.
I'm from the South. I don't really have the accent, though. At least I don't think so.
I got a bad case of soy voice. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And then Matt takes the fireworks that he got from this lady named Eludra.
Who we met in the last book.
Yes.
Rand ruined her entire life. Thanks, Rand.
Yeah, he kind of did. Rand and Chiron is basically like a train wreck.
All he did was nothing. Except for he set up a couple fireworks.
It's like, you great pig Tammuz. And then we get to Tyr, and he finds out that the girls are in the Stone of Tyr when he finds out Madame Makura, not Makura, Mother Brune, and he brings Tom in to say, hey.
Because Tom got a really bad cough.
Yeah, and Tom is like,
Tom got the corona.
Yeah, Tom got corona. And demonetized if we were ever monetized. And Tom is just doesn't want to do it. He's just like, they'll just force foul tasting concoctions down my throat. And then when Matt was herring off, you can't leave me here with this, and he just starts coughing before he and it's like, I have never had a Gleeman die on me, and you are not going to be the first. But then he infiltrates the stone by using the fireworks.
Blowing a big asshole in it.
It cracks me up so much too, because he just tries to use it as a distraction, but then when he blows a hole in the wall, he's like, "Oh, guess I'll step through it." And then he's like, "Oh, right, all the guards are going to be heading straight for me now."
They had a plan. Him and Jules had a plan. But Matt was like, huh.
I think that this is one of the best moments in the series, like in terms of like the writing, because like we see all of these points come to one thing, and without each of these people coming together, it wouldn't have been possible.
Yes.
Like we see. Oh, go for it. Sorry.
Yeah, for a while we've been talking kind of like the problems of the names and like some of the cliches that get used into the plot armor. But the actual pacing of this story and how everything always comes together by the end and all the foreshadowing is always fulfilled and Chekhov's gun does get fired and all this. The storytelling is phenomenal. It absolutely is.
Well, and because realistically, I mean, Rand wasn't even really the one who ends up taking the stone. Honestly, it was more Matt, because Matt's the one who caused the distraction that let Rand get in the first place, and Matt's the one who convinced all the Aiel to follow him in.
He didn't really convince them to follow him. He kind of blew a big hole, and I think one of them even said, "We found a hole."
Yeah, he gave him a way in anyway.
Yeah. and he's like, "What are you doing up here, Matt Kaufman?"
Trying to get to the dungeons.
Yeah. He's like, and so Ruark, a clan chief, who will become more relevant in the next one, like leads the Aiel in, and they take the stone, and then Rand, then Matt, and after Rand, and we see a kind of just Matt is just like not appreciated, and that's kind of like he didn't thank the Aes Sedai either. He kind of just like believed they were going to use him, which fair to him. The cultural like could have been at least a little bit more polite, but yeah.
And parents having a fight in the dream world in Tyr,
trying to free Fael.
Yeah. So everybody's in the stone, taking it in their own particular way. Because the girls are also traveling through the Tyr because Egwene got a Tongriel, the ring.
Yeah. And they just forgot to take it. And so she gets him out and she stills one of the Aes Sedai, the black Aes Sedai that were holding her and her friends. And then she just takes the other one captive.
Now, to be fair, they couldn't open the door. Matt had to do it for them.
Yeah, they couldn't. Yeah, they were still shielded. And then
all Luke did was open a door.
Waging war in their minds. Can't open a door, though.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. And then we get to kind of the conclusion, which is Rand al'Thor against Belal and then Ishamael. Now, one thing that I would like to discuss is Rand on the road.
We get one or two scenes of him on the road. And every time we see him on the road, every time we interact with him, I was like, oh no, he's gone crazy.
Yeah, like when he just kills that lady and her guards, kind of without provocation.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like attacks.
So paranoid by that point of running into dark friends.
Yeah. But it's kind of just like, that's murder, dude. That was
murder.
Yeah.
And then it turns out there was a Solus among them anyway. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like, so were they actually dark friends or?
Robert Jordan came out later after the fact and said that they were dark friends, but
that sounds like
that's plugging a hole, kind of.
Yeah.
And I think
if they're not dark friends, if he did really just go mad. But
yeah.
Because it's kind of hinted that he's mad. He's already in the stages of either has gone mad or is going mad.
And I wouldn't have even really minded it if he were mad at that point and if he brought it back when his friends and everybody was around him again. Because, I mean, that makes sense. Like, it's easier to give in to madness if you're by yourself. You know, you don't have anyone to
Isolation
say,
is-
"Hey, that's a weird thing to say / do, bro."
Yeah, isolation is a leading cause of madness. You go crazy when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, in the massive amount of stress he's going through as well. But then we also had a scene where Matt and Tom were attacked by dark friends on the road as well, disguised as merchants.
Yeah. And I think Matt, I think that part of this is coming from Robert Jordan's neat kind of like early shorter book plan for these books, where Rand is slightly more sane in the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's frustrated a lot with the tyrants, and we'll get into that. But he hates dealing with these people because they're awful human beings.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yeah.
In
And
the fight with Matt with the one sword master, he's like, dude, shut up.
keep Darlin Cisnera or High Lord Darlin in mind.
Oh.
He comes back later.
And then Matt got one by just swinging his bow staff over his shoulder, just so happened to hit him in the head. Just bonk.
Pretty much, yeah.
I just realized we're an hour and a half. We still have a book and 2 books to get through.
Yes. Yeah, but kind of we have Rand coming in, and he gets into the stone, and immediately Bilal fights him.
The other one first.
But well, Ishamael or Baal-Zaman and the Bilal, this guy.
Fireface.
Well, first he fights the Blade Master in a sword fight with swords made of fire.
Yes.
And so this is kind of for me, this is like my favorite outfit of anything I've heard of from the Wheel of Time. Where I would legit wear this.
That's so comfy.
Hi,
It looks
Army.
Eye occupation.
yeah, Occupation Army. So, but first we have where Rand beat his first Blade Master in the other book, and he's fighting Bilal, and Bilal also has a heron on his sword, and he actually has earned it, or at least he's much better with a sword than Rand is. And
Rand was going to lose that fight if Moraine
didn't hit him with Balefire.
Yeah.
And we don't have and then we see Baal-Zaman come back in, and he's like, alrighty, it's now or never, Luce Theron. Let's end this. And he tries to rip Rand's soul out somehow, but then Rand gets Kalendor. It's very much an Excalibur moment, or it's kind of even like the Arthurian myth kind of thing, where you have this it's the sword and the stone essentially, but with a magic artifact.
Yes, the sword that is not a sword.
Yep.
And Kalendor is broken. It is. And it allows Rand to go God mode, essentially.
Yeah.
And the Dark Lord goes, no. And he tries to get away. He goes on the retreat immediately. So we have Rand chasing him all throughout the stone, and it's talking about how the stone gets filled with water, but Rand dispels this. It gets filled with poisonous gas. It gets all the air is taken out. It gets filled with bugs, lightning, fire. Gravity is reversed, increased, taken away entirely. Until Rand basically chases him out of the stone and then manages to kill him in the hole that Matt made. And I was like, yay, another chase.
Yeah.
This is epic.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the end of this book.
Yep. And then
I think
after
me
that,
and Blue discussed it and said this is the story of everybody but Rand.
yeah, the book that shares his title and nothing happens.
Well, not necessarily
But
nothing.
But
It's
at least like very
really
little
interesting how he's
happens.
affecting the world around him. And then we get into the fifth book.
Yeah, well, fourth.
Fourth
Well,
book, yes.
Yeah. Well, fifth if you count the prequel.
Yeah. Well, that's technically book 0, so.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go with that. But the Shadow Rising is where it gets really complicated.
This is my favorite one so far.
I like the Shadow Rising as well, quite a bit of the books that we've read so far.
This one is a game of wheels, as I called it. Because we get to see what Rand's like as a king.
Yeah. He's technically good at it, sort of.
Kind of, sort of good. He's got his heart in the right place, and he knows how to deal with these Tyrian nobles after Elaine gives him some advice. It also helps that they're afraid of him because he's the Dragon Reborn.
For a character that started out being a shepherd, he definitely comes a long way as far as saying, this is what I'm going to do, and you all can suck it pretty fast.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then again, having 100 Aiel at your back kind of helps.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, because the Aiel are kind of like and it's revealed that they are kind of, it's been set up throughout the first 2 books that the stone will never fall until the people of the dragon come to Tyr, but also it will not fall until the dragon holds the sword. So and like Rand comments on that, like, how is that possible? It doesn't seem like it could work. And Tom is like, if a prophecy was easily fulfilled, that would make the prophecy pretty meaningless, wouldn't it? And I just love that he was setting it up as early as book 1. I think that's great.
Yep.
And so, okay, so we're probably okay. So bare bones summary: Dragon Reborn. Okay, hangout time in Tyr for a few chapters where kind of like we're setting up. First thing that happens is a bubble of evil, a trio of bubble of evil where reality basically warps and tries to kill Rand, Matt, and Perrin. Matt has a bunch of playing cards come to life and try to kill him. Rand has his own reflections try to kill him, and Perrin has his own axe try to kill him. And then after that, there is an attack on the Stone of Tyr by Trollocs, and Matt, Rand, and Moiraine and Egwene leave to go to the Aiel Waste to gather the Aiel clans. Egwene is learning from the Wise Ones about the Aiel Wise Ones who can channel about dream walking. Then we have Elaine and Nynaeve going to Tanshiko with Tom Merrilin and Julian Sandar to find something that's supposedly dangerous to Rand. And then while that's going on, Perrin, Fael, and Loyal are going to the Two Rivers to stop a White Cloak invasion of the Two Rivers. That also... Oh, and there's Trollocs too. Great.
And the White Goats are finally a threat. Yay!
Yes. And then in the White Tower, Siuan Sanche is finally coming out about the Dragon Reborn. But the problem is Elida, who's been kind of a side character, who's been terrible. Like, she's not a good person.
No.
Like, at all. She basically backstabs Swan and becomes the Amerlin. Problem is, there's some Aes Sedai that don't like that.
Yeah, there's a huge... And a couple of the warders, too.
Yeah.
Quite a few of the warders. Like, almost all of them.
And then Gowan just like sides with Elida, which killed me. It was like, no, how
No.
dare you, sir?
No, and he killed like two warders.
I know.
Which I'm just like, I kind of want to. How exactly?
How?
That's what I want to know. It's just how.
Where's his brother during all of this? Because that's, I mean, like, it would make more sense if it was his brother doing this, because he's always going to side with the right thing, and the armament seat is the right thing, right? Where's his brother during all this? The one who's been saying that he wouldn't tell a lie even if it was beneficial to him.
I am curious to see what happened to him too.
Yeah.
Because he just
'Cause the
kind of like disappeared.
Last we heard of him, he was talking with white cloaks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well-
that one's interesting because they definitely like fit with his personal moral philosophy, which is just going to do the right thing no matter what happens.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with Tyr.
Yeah. So basically, like I tried to kind of like put everybody up there. So we got a lot happening there's a lot that happens. This is a really crowded book.
There's a lot that happens.
There's the random girl who's just hitting on everybody unsuccessfully, but I mean, she's still doing it.
Yeah,
Everybody knows a thought when they see a thought.
Is she supposed to be Perrin's hawk, by the way? Because she had a hawk headdress on at one point. That was mentioned.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Because it's also symbolized that Matt was with a hawk at one point too, wasn't he?
So the Daughter of the Nine Moons is what Matt is supposed to be with, based on the walk through the Triangle frame, which we will get to.
But I think he was saying like men's things way like back at the beginning mentioned Matt having some sort of bird on his shoulder. I don't remember if it was a hawk or not, but it might have been the eagle for
the red eagle of Manetheren. Yeah.
Manetheren.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually a Wheel of Time podcast that I listen to where it's a pair of first-time readers, and they basically, instead of like doing the whole book, they'll basically go chapter by chapter through it.
Ooh.
And one of their theories is that Matt is secretly the future king of Manetheren.
I think he's reborn the past kings of Manetheren, right?
Yeah, it's the same people who said like they immediately went to time travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Like where it's like they think that Tam is a time traveler and that's how he got Rand.
I understand their logic because the series is called Wheel of Time, and obviously there's some time elements that are going on and like repeating of the past and whatnot. But I think taking it to time travel was just a tad too far.
Yeah, and like it's really funny to listen to because like they're currently just on like the middle of the Great Hunt right now. Like they just, and it's kind of interesting where they're kind of some interesting assumptions like what was one of them? Like Egwene was able to is able to draw power from the river to start the fire in the first book. And it's kind of just like they've figured out that now that they've kind of seen like, oh, the power is I think probably like now that they understand that like the power is something more akin to like an external force. It's literally the force, kind of.
The force.
Without the midichlorian. Well, there is a biological element to the one power where like it just seems as though like semi like
at least the white theorized that there is.
Yeah. It does seem as though like in the Two Rivers, because there's a slightly closed population, the amount of channelers is higher than it would normally be in other places. Yeah.
It's not diluted.
Well, and especially since it doesn't seem like the tower makes it out there often, I'm sure it seems like, because they were talking about how there are less channelers because they've been killing off all the men, right? Well, it seems like there would probably be a couple men who could channel who go unnoticed in the Two Rivers, who just kind of go insane and die on their own, like Rand did in a couple of the alternate realities without anyone ever realizing what he was, you know?
Yeah, sometimes they may not even make it that far.
Yeah.
Or they just don't go that crazy. A
Yeah.
little weird, but not insane.
Yeah. But the starting thing is the initial incident is the interior is the bubbles of evil, as Moraine calls them, where it's like miasma of filth, where it interrupts a date or a chat between Perrin and Fael, a gambling thing with Matt and a bunch of lordlings.
And Rat almost getting laid.
Yeah. Yep. There's a really like opportunistic lady who says like, nah, I'm gonna try and screw the Dragon Reborn.
It was her. What is her name? I keep forgetting. The Hawk Lady.
Barrelane.
Barrelane. And we can Barrelane stand her.
She literally like had her little thing with all three of them too. There was Rand, and then her thing with Perrin, and then there was also even Matt, where Matt hit on her, and she just turned around for a second, was like, "No, we're too much alike. It would never work."
We're too much alike.
Which is kind of hilarious.
Oh my gosh. And she's like the ruler of a small kingdom.
Yeah, it's like she's a third world like dictator essentially.
She's not in tier on her own will either. She's there because she's a prisoner from the High Lords, pretty much who bullied her into providing them a navy or something like that.
Yeah, like, and also like just the fact that like she is there under like duress and says, and like a bunch of the High Lords like want to get with her because she's hot. And like even Rand says like, I know what you're trying to do, where you want this, where this guy wants to be in man to try and hit on Barrelane. He's like, no, redraft.
No.
I like how like matter of fact she was about it when Rand turned her down too. She was just like, well, had to try. And then she follows it up with, besides, have you seen you? She's so frank.
And then Rand's reflections tried to kill him.
Right?
And she is traumatized. So, which one of you won? Because it all happened on the other side of the bed from her. All she saw is Rand fall over, and then all three of the other ones jump on him, and then he stood up.
Yeah. Which that's like really like Lovecraftian crap, where like your own reflection attacks you. That's really creepy.
I am so interested to see what the true form of the Dark One is, because I'm expecting this Lovecraftian monster.
Yeah.
I
say nothing.
I can't wait. I so hope it's not just some old dude. I really hope it's not.
And from there, it's kind of just Matt kind of lolls around, kind of doing nothing for a large section of his time in tier.
Matt doesn't do anything in this book.
That is true. He does two important things, but that is it. And it's just walking through two doorways.
Yeah.
And we'll get to one line from Matt here in a little bit when we get to the IO Waste.
It's like, Dove Andy Sitovius again. It's time to toss the dice. What do you think I said? Oh, sorry, that's from... Sorry, wrong book. But yeah, it's not spoiler.
So Morgan, Nynaeve, Elaine, Egwene, and Moraine. They all are talking about these Tongriel that are in the bottom portion of tier, in the stone itself that they've just collected through the years. And one of the ones that are important is this red door frame that basically takes you to a parallel universe where these snake people will answer you 3 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Rand and Matt find out about it, and both of them plus Moraine. I would think I would know the name of one of the main characters of this book by now.
These books.
They go through it several times, and they get their questions asked. We don't know what Rand and Morghese asked. But Matt asks, what is he supposed to do? Because he's trying to debate whether or not to go back to the Two Rivers with Perrin to save his home.
And he says, and they say, you should go to Rudion.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't want to go to bloody Rudion.
I don't want to go to bloody Radion. What are you, crazy? Have you gone mad? Why should I go to Radion? Ah, damn it.
Because if you do not go to Rudion, you will die.
Blood and ashes.
And then, like, he just starts yelling, like, answer my questions.
No, we don't wanna.
And, like, to die and live again. To marry the daughter of the 9 moons. To give up half of the eye to the world to save the world.
They technically answer him 4 questions.
Technically, yes.
Because they were trying to get him out of there before Rand came through.
Yeah.
So, what do you think those mean? So, theorizing, like, just what do you think those mean?
So I think, because a portion of the book that happens afterwards is that Matt has big holes in his memory. He can't remember large portions of his life at this point. He's having trouble with amnesia because of the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hinted that some of the dreams that he's have is of one of his ancestors who was one of the great generals of Manithrin. Maybe even the ruler, I think. I don't remember.
Alcar Elthorin.
And
Yes.
again, the way heroes are reborn over and over again in this world, I would say even probably his past life specifically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Reincarnation is definitely a thing in Wheel of Time.
Yep. So, but we have kind of this thing of the Daughter of the 9 Moons. Who do you think the Daughter of the 9 Moons might be? Or do you...
That I don't know, and I am very curious to find out.
Daughter of the 9 Moons, because it's like when I first heard that, it's like, Landfear? No, she's just the sister of the night.
Yeah, the Daughter of the Night. Yeah.
Daughter of the night. So it's not her. I don't think it would be her. I hope it wouldn't be her. That'd
And
be weird.
like, it does sound very much like a noble's honorific kind of thing. So I was thinking about it, and I was just like, who do we know that's a noble, but we don't know their title? And I'm just like, if it's Moraine, I'm gonna die of laughter. Hey,
It cannot be Moraine.
but it's like, and then besides that, it does seem like it could be an Aiel thing. So maybe one of the Aiel, but there
Maybe
really
it's a-
haven't
we haven't met yet.
been any standout Aiel women characters yet, besides the ones that are already kind of attached to Rand.
Yeah, Avienda is kind of the only one that kind of is a standout, aside from, say, the Wise Ones.
Right. And most of them are already married. And while they can have multiple wives, I'm not sure if they've established yet whether multiple husbands is a thing.
They have not.
Yeah, not. I don't think it would be. It seems like the waste. You don't live long enough in the waste for that. If there's going to have multiple wives, it's because they want to marry you, and they get to determine you marry them. It seems like.
Yeah.
You're right. I know. It seems like the guys just don't even have a say. I was like, oh.
Unlike women in your world, the women here get to determine who they married. And Rand's like, that's not how it works at all.
Yeah, and it's like when Matt hears this, he's either the luckiest man in the world or the biggest fool in the universe.
I like that it also implies that Matt asks every woman whether or not she's knows what that means, the whole daughter of the whatever moons, before he'll sleep with them.
We want to play a game of Maiden's Kiss.
It's like, yeah, I basically, like, I cut myself less in that than I do shaving. So I guess, like you say, I'm a dang good kisser. It's like, wow, Matt, very impressive. But yeah, we then have like the attack on the stone by the Trollocs, and the reveal of Landfear to Rand. in
Yes.
conjunction. That is the big one where he thinks she's still Selene, but then it's like, nope, I'm Lanfear. It's like, oh crap. And she just handles him like a kid.
Yeah.
Like-
Lanfear is kind of interesting because her role is seductress,
But she's
but
not
she's
good
not like a master. She's not very good at it. She's good at it with everybody who is not who she's trying to get.
Well, even then, because she kind of like talked to Matt and Perrin both, and they both kind of went, this lady is bad news. Better not.
Yeah, they're two rivers in. They're smarter than that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but if Matt has the common sense to go better not, then I think every.
Yeah, because Matt will basically just go with anybody. Even women apparently who are old enough to be his mom.
Oh, Matt, why? And this is the character you said reminds you of me.
I can neither confirm nor deny that that was a thing. But yes, we do have a great deal of like Matt being the womanizer.
A lot happened in a year. He had to grow up.
Yep. He grew up a lot.
Because a year ago, he was debating whether or not to put up badgers amongst the women as they were dancing around the bell pole at that festival.
Because that's what happens when you meet women that you haven't lived with your entire life for the first time.
This is true. This is very true.
I just like how Perrin's the smart one. He's the muscle of the group, and he's also the brains.
Yeah. Yeah, because like even though like Matt, like Rand kind of like isn't necessarily the smartest tool in the shed, he's still smarter than Matt.
Matt's not dumb. Let's get this clear.
Yeah, Matt's not dumb. He just does
thinks
some
before he
questionable things.
Yeah. He's the smart guy with zero common sense.
Yeah. And like Gawain like immediately like disapproves of his shenanigans, which I think is hilarious. He's like, that woman's older than Nynaeve. Eve. Yeah, it's just like, how, like, what exactly are you doing, Matt? But then Rand uses Kalendor as it's supposed to be used for the first time, and it doesn't necessarily go that well. Or at least, it goes well for the first bit. He conjures basically a storm of lightning that blows up all the Trollocs in Shadow Spawn, but only after he realizes it, that he can do it.
He could do it.
Yeah, and then he goes a little power crazy and tries to bring a little girl back from the dead.
I cried. I don't like seeing kids in pain.
Well, yeah, and she's basically a like poor
6-year-old.
Yeah, like a child, and he's like, I was too late. Yeah, he
All
wanted.
because I didn't think about it.
Yeah, poor guy. And then Rand decides to go to leave for the waste. But before he does it, he basically like completes the sword and the stone metaphor by shoving Kalendor into the stone of Tear Point first.
If you want it, go ahead and take it.
Oh, which I thought was such a good move. Like, it does come with the dangers that Moraine points out of somebody else walking up and taking it, since technically they now can. But like he said, the promise of just now they know he's coming back. Like, he's right. That is the only reason he is still King of Tyr when he leaves.
Yeah.
And he thought about how to get rid of all the people who want him dead in Tyr. It's like, how about you all go fight a war over there?
Yeah, how about you restore peace in Kyrian?
Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, oh, look at our little Rand growing up. Although I did like that they pointed out that he's still in some ways kind of naive because he assumed that it was he didn't understand with with the woman and the husband, he didn't understand that she was the one causing all of the issues there.
Yeah.
He just wouldn't think that somebody would do that to their own husband.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. Rand's a real nice guy.
Yeah.
Elaine's lucky to have him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well,
Elaine and him are a couple.
Sort of.
Kind of.
They seem to, like, kind of break up a little bit. Like,
It was a spring fling.
yeah.
I love that she sent him a letter going, I love you so much. And then she was like, wait, no, that was probably coming on a little too strong. So her answer to it was to send him a letter saying, just kidding, I hate you.
Which is kind of just like.
And then as everybody's leaving, they hear Rand put the sword in Tyr. And they all, Elaine's first thought is.
That's so. This probably applies to it, but that applies to her.
Yes.
She's like, you belong to Elaine.
I just love that when Elaine and Nynaeve are leaving to go to Tonchico, they hear Rand put the sword back into the floors in Tyr. They're like, oh no, he read the second letter. Let's get out of here. Let's go. It's just like, that's not what happened at all. It's just.
Well, and all of Elaine's friends, like all the girls seem to think that she sent him 2 love letters. So they're being all harsh on him. Like, how could you doubt her love? And like, no, that's not what happened.
That's not what happened at all.
I got 2 letters, two very different letters.
And it's like, as what's her name?
Avienda
is giving him this hard time throughout the High Race. I was just like, Rand, just give her the letters and have her read them, so she understands what the hell you're going through right now. It's like, what the fuck happened? It's like, okay, sure.
And yeah, and after that, the gang splits up. Perrin hears about White Cloaks and the Two Rivers and scarpers off, though he thinks that he's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So he tries to do the kind of cliche thing where he's like, tries to like
get Vayu to leave him.
Yeah. Which is kind of like, Perrin, you poor fool. I'm sorry. That ain't gonna fly. Like,
I get it because she's a falcon.
Yeah. It ends up working out because like she kind of talks him into being sane, and not doing the dumb thing of turning himself into the White Cloaks. But we'll get to that later. Dang, this is going long. This is a long book. All right, strap yourselves in, folks.
All right, speedrun tactics. Let's go.
All right, and then like Egwene has an encounter with the Wise Ones in the World of Dreams. So they all leave to go to their various locations. Nynaeve and Elaine go to Tanchico with Tom Merlin because Moraine says and him basically have a game of wits where they reveal how much they know about each other. He says like she says, "Oh, Tom Gel Merlin, often called the Old Fox, who could play the game of houses in his sleep, was Morgaze's lover for quite a while." And turns out, like, Tom's a player. Tom, like, we always knew that Tom was a player, but we like find out, oh, Tom probably killed Elaine's quote unquote dad.
Yeah, I theorize that Tom's actually Elaine's real father.
Yeah, I actually was.
I hope not.
Why not?
Sorry, nothing.
Well, admittedly, like, he's like 40 years older than her, so there's kind of that to think about, where it's just like, wow,
Tom's got moves.
Tom's got
style. Age is just a number, baby.
He's
I'm gonna remind you. You said that next time.
Oh no! Oh, it doesn't. That doesn't. No.
all things on the internet come back to haunt you. That's just ask David Benioff.
Oh no!
But yeah, and then we have Matt and Rand, Egwene, Moraine, and Lan, and all of the Aiel taking a portal stone to the Aiel Waste. And from there, the group splits. So the next element is the Two Rivers.
The best part of this whole book.
Yeah, it is very much the best part of the book. Basically, it's a war. First it starts as a guerrilla war, and then it is a war of basically a siege where initially Perrin is going to turn himself into the White Cloaks, but then he finds out that there are Trollocs. And also that his family is now dead.
His entire family. I cried. This book made me cry like 4 or 5 times.
What were the other 3 moments?
I can't remember. I'll probably remember as they come up.
Yeah, but it's like Pod and Fane basically went in to try and find Perrin, and they laughed in his face and called him a filthy fool for calling their son Dark Friend. And so he got so pissed that he decided to
murder every single one of them.
But it's just like, you douche, I hate you.
And he doesn't just murder them. No, he obliterated them in such a way that the only thing that everybody could think of could possibly kill that way is a Trolloc.
Yeah. Which is really like, wow, dude.
It's like, holy.
And the dude who died, whose son is like seeking vengeance, he knows that he did this. He's completely aware.
And he's okay with it.
Oh,
he's freaked out by it, but in the end, he's still like, yeah, this guy is definitely didn't lie about anything that happened. Couldn't be. Ugh.
Oh, what the hell? Yeah, I told you, his son is a bastard.
He's so frustrating because, like, you can tell that he generally believes that Perrin's the bad guy, right? But it makes no sense that he believes that. Like, the more and more he sees from Pod on Thane, seeing the Trolloc battle that ends up happening in the Two Rivers, it's just like...
Yeah, we're going with the wrong cliche here.
Yeah.
Talk about, like, I don't know, self-fulfilling prophecies and seeing what you want to see. Like, it just gets so out of hand, and I want to smack him.
It is a constant theme coming up in the book, is that people see what they want to see.
Yeah. Like, we'll go to that with Couladin, but yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, Couladin's a dick. Like a giant dick.
I have no sympathy for Couladin.
Oh, I don't either. He's a terrible human being. Who's...
But that we'll save that for when we get to his part.
Yeah. But basically, like, it's Perrin decides to basically run a guerrilla war against the Trollocs in the Two Rivers. Because it seems as though the White Cloaks... Well, first off, the White Cloaks have basically tried to, like, run Tam and Abel Cawthon out of town.
Yep. I'm actually disappointed with the lacking amount of Tam we got in this book. I was hoping that we could see him with a sword and see what a real sword master looked like.
Yeah, I wish that too. But
and we also don't see Loyal fight anything in this book. He's there for the whole thing, and we don't see him fight a damn thing.
Which is kind of rough.
I want to see what an Ogier looks like when he goes to war.
You will see. I promise.
Especially because he's defending the children.
Yeah.
We get a hint in Tyr where he defends the children the most. He loves children. Yeah. I love that about Loyal. He's just such a big, friendly, fuzzy man. I want to hug him. I want to hug Loyal.
Yeah. and he's like completely terrified that his mother will find him.
He's such a baby.
He's like, my mother, any woman in the stone would be happy to marry you if you were human. And he's Baron's grinning like that is the wrong way to butter him up.
That is not.
Yeah, but I do love this artwork for Loyal. I think that it kind of makes him a little bit look older than I think he should look, but I think
Well, I mean, he's 90.
that is true. He's technically like teenager, like he's like Rand's age, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I always imagined him more with like a bull's like face. Just
Okay, kind of like a cow eye. Kind of.
Yeah, they kind of. He's described as having like a cow-like face.
And then, kind of like Perion. Okay, we're glossing over so much detail here. We also have the introduction of a new element, a man by the name of Slayer, or that we don't, who seems to be somehow connected to another man by the name of Luke.
Yes, Lord Luke,
who
a hunter of the Horn, who arrived in Two Rivers, believing that it would be somewhere in the ruins of Monithrin.
And he seems to bear a resemblance to Rand in some way.
Yeah, I definitely immediately assumed that Luke was Slayer.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I also assume Luke is probably one of the Forsworn.
Forsaken?
God, why am I...
So, interestingly enough, there's some hints to this in The Great Hunt. Luke is mentioned in The Great Hunt.
He is, isn't he?
Yes. It's in the Dark Prophecy. It says Luke met Esam in the Mountains of Mist, and one died and one left. One departed. And Esam is Lan's cousin. And this man Slayer in the dream world is talked about as he looks like Lan's brother or cousin.
Oh. It's getting interesting. I wonder what sort of soul link we have going on here.
Yeah. And when kind of Luke leaves, he's nursing a wound.
To his chest, right where Perion shot Slayer in the dream world.
Yep. So, and it said that, and I thought I would bring this up here because Lord Luke, apparently, according to that bit in the Great Hunt, was the brother of Tigraine, the princess of Andor who ran away and caused the succession, which made it so that Morghese was on the throne. So, and he looks like Rand. And then there's a bit where it said that Rand's actual Aiel dad met a man that he said looked like Tigraine and was killed by that man because he wouldn't raise his spear. So
I thought that. Yeah, Luke is going to be a fundamental character in all this, isn't he?
Well, there's a lot of foreshadowing for him.
There's certainly a lot of... And he just so happened to be in the Two Rivers when they needed a leader. And connected with a spirit that is hunting specifically wolves.
And the Trolloc battle cry is Isam. And Padan Fain is angry at the end when he loses. And he's saying, that fool Isam, how dare you take my prey away? So... Theories abound. Go nuts.
It's going to be fun.
But Perion decides, and throughout this, Perion is being pushed into a leadership role, both by the two
Lord Perion.
Yeah, and kind of by Fael.
kind of by Vahil, kind of because everybody else doesn't know what to do.
Which
Yeah.
is interesting because when he and Fail tie the knot or whatever, he stops seeing himself in Teleon Riyadh with the axe. Like he only sees himself with the hammer. And Varen makes that comment about like, do you not realize what you chose when you chose Fail? So even though she's pushing him supposedly towards this leadership, which you would think would be a more violent role, when he chose her, it seems like he also subconsciously chose the hammer. So it's interesting. I don't know.
And it was also revealed Vahil is basically a princess.
Right.
Yeah, she's like third in line she's like second in line for the throne of Seldeia. Like it's behind her dad, who is Davram Bashir, who you'll meet him later.
Yay. So long as you announce yourself as the King of Wolves, you'll probably do just fine.
Yeah, you get to meet him. He's an interesting man. I think one of my favorite quotes from him is "Thank you, no."
I also
Oh,
I love the image of Varen in this book, like basically just following Perrin around everywhere and just jotting down in her notebook, like, interesting.
Yes.
She doesn't do anything in these books besides take notes, but she's like always there.
yeah, I love Varen. Varen's great. She's like totally playing like the doddering brown librarian stereotype.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and she's so aware of everything going on around her, too. It's like she's like 3 or 4 steps ahead of most of the other characters, too, that she surprises them when she actually says something. It's like,
Playing that fight chess.
yeah.
Yep. Indeed. And then you have Alana Mosfani there. What do you think of we saw Alana earlier in the Dragon Reborn very briefly, but then she and Varen go off to find girls in the Two Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of Alana Mosfani? Like,
now, she was the green that Perrin moved out of the way.
yeah, no, that was
No.
Liana, the Keeper of the Chronicles, and Keeper of the Chronicles is actually blue with the soul of a green.
Yeah.
I think
Very good way to put it.
she's like kind of secretly like they're set up for like before the poor lady gets stilled along with Swan Sanche. She's like commenting about like how like Rand and Perrin are hot, and she's which is kind of hilarious to me. Is like she's just a cold like a smart like formal blue, but she's got the soul of a horny green. Well, sorry, not horny, thirsty. We'll go with the more like how to put it, like a more appropriate term. She's very thirsty. But what do you think of Alana? It does seem like they don't trust her very much.
They don't need to trust her. Then again, there's presidents not trust her because they're on the hunt for Black Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if we should trust her or not because she helps in the war. In the Battle of the Two Rivers.
But
Yeah.
not doing so would also be extremely dumb. Like,
Yeah.
even for an Aes Sedai, there's another Aes Sedai there, as well as just a whole bunch of people besides. She could easily get overwhelmed if they suspected her.
Yeah. There's a
And she
lot.
did.
There's a lot of stuff.
We do get the description of what it's like to lose a warder.
Which is rough.
It is rough. I felt every blow that was dealt to him, including the one that killed him. And there was nothing I could do.
Yeah. Poor woman. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really sad moment. Like, even though you don't really know this guy, you're still like sad.
But personally, with Alana, I do though. I think if she is a Black Sister, she was specifically there hunting Pot on Thane. Personally,
Yeah.
That's a good theory. That could be interesting in going down the road.
because I mean, it's very clear that he's kind of broken away from what the rest of the people serving the Dark One want him to be doing.
He's kind of become a third factor in all of this.
Yeah, he's pretty much become like his own team, doing bad things, and honestly, like kind of worse things than a lot of the Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's not even so much blind ambition behind it like there is for a lot of the Dark Ones and the Forsaken. Like there's too much madness for him to be easily I don't know, like to easily guess what he's gonna do.
He's not. He's a very hard to quantify element.
Right.
Yeah. At the end of the book, he has 30 former White Cloaks working for him in a fade. I told you, Don, that the most terrifying line in this entire book was "in the fade began to sweat." It's just like, oh my gosh, he scares the things that are made of nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah, you cray, you're cuckoo banana cocoa puff for Cocoa Puffs.
Still about 30 minutes, but I can't go past 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty, let's keep going and we'll try and finish things up. But yeah, Perion and Philo get married. The Trollocs are driven out of the Two Rivers. There's a really cool like Rohirrim style moment where the Two Rivers men from Watch Hill and Devonride come in, and the book kind of like that story ends with that moment.
Yep.
And the White Cloaks kind of are pissed because Perion doesn't give himself up because they reneged on their deal.
Fuck them.
Yeah. And then you have the Tanchiko storyline. This kind of feels like it could be like an entire season of television because like there's so much that happens. Some of it could be cut. Some of it, like, probably needs to stay in. But we have this whole storyline where they're
every picture of Nynaeve is her pulling on that braid.
Pretty much, it's her defining feature. Yeah, Dang, I did not anticipate it would be this long. Maybe we should have just kept it to Shadow. I should have apportioned time better. I apologize, my friends.
You're fine. I think maybe we just save the third book for next time.
Yeah, I'll just keep.
Seems like 2 books at a time is probably about what we can handle.
Yeah,
I think if we start with New Spring for the next one, because it's so much shorter than all the other ones, we might be able to squeeze it in.
Yeah, we'll be able to. Yeah, but yeah, in Tanchiko, they get to find Moghedien, who is, or at least like Moghedien is kind of there influencing things, it seems. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to find this Terungrial male Idom. And for those of you who don't remember, the male Idom, an Idom is basically a device that allows you to control somebody who can channel. And we see, and it's basically what they find is, and they're trying to find this throughout the book, and they're basically kind of stuck in Chanchiko, and they meet a lady named Egyanin Tamaroth, and she's a Shanshan woman. She's actually the Shanshan from the second book who brought Bail Doman to Falma, but then she's there finding renegade Suldam. And she finds out that one of them you can leash a Suldam and make it so that she can't go anywhere. And so she tries to help Nynaeve and Elaine after they get jumped by the toughs. She's accidentally paid to find Suldam, and unfortunately, because Nynaeve looks like one of the Suldam on her list, which is kind of funny. And all the while, Elaine is like, I know I pulled on those Tom's mustaches when I was a kid. How do I know this guy? You're just a gleeman. And then she gets pissed drunk.
I only had one cup of wine.
Yeah, bull crap. That
Multiple times over. Never got more than halfway done.
It's not my
Yeah.
fault. The cup was never
Didn't it just
kept filling it.
that boy wanted to get lucky.
He made a very poor decision that day.
Yeah. It's just like he's so disappointed that like I wanted to get lucky with that pretty blonde girl, and she's like, nope. And luckily, they run into Bail Doman, who has taken up a life of smuggling. What is it with these people taking up healthy work habits?
Hey, he's proven to be successful at it. He's a very rich man now.
Yeah, which is like, well, good for you. And Gideon is like, he is a smuggler, and a lawbreaker, but he is very attractive, and he's clearly like giving her the wolf whistle eyes.
And Julius is there too.
Yeah, and Julian is there. Julian Sandar, like, he's an interesting character because he kind of is just kind of there, and he's kind of there to provide like investigative comic relief and just like saying like, why am I just like, I'm here because I owe you. And I was
the
there.
Guys are having this big like contest of trying to outperform one another, and they all just getting the same task done at the exact same time that it's not helping.
Yeah. And also like he like apparently like our friend the blue, like Tom, like when Elaine and Nynaeve demand Tom Maryland, Julian Sandar, what are you doing here? And Julian's like, I was rousted out of my bed by a stone-faced man with a sword, who told me that I should go after you two. And apparently a shepherd of our mutual acquaintance wants me to follow you as well. This is like Lan and Rand taking care of their ladies. It's adorable. And like Moraine tells Tom to go after them in exchange for information about the Aes Sedai who gentled his son, his nephew Owen.
Yeah.
And they eventually find a way to get into the Panarch's palace, and it's a museum. It's basically a museum with dinosaur skeletons in it, which is really funny to me.
It's kind of cool. I always like the idea of like fantasy museums and what they would be like. And then one of the Dark Sisters has a one that shoots balefire and destroys everything.
Yeah. But before that, we have the introduction of the spider, Mogideon, but also Birgitta Silverbow, one of the heroes of the Horn, starts helping the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like, her ugly AF boyfriend tells her no.
He's basically a dwarf.
Yeah, it's kind of the elf dwarf thing where
I love it.
where Brigitte Silverbow is this, like, described as this really attractive, tall, blonde lady, and he's this kind of stumpy ugly dude.
He's short even to Morghase's standards, I think.
Yeah.
And she's described as being a tiny woman.
Well, Nynaeve. Yeah, Nynaeve, who's tiny.
Yeah.
And kind of, Mogideon shows up very briefly to
Yes, you've been missing out. You should have seen this whole thing.
Yeah, we've been here for 2.5 hours. It's been great though. Basically like an hour and a half per book. I think that's about like, we're mostly gushing because thankfully like these are really good. We're kind of like glossing over like, there's kind of a lot of filler at points, which I think is a kind of a criticism that you could levy a little bit, is that there's lots of filler
I
There's a
think
lot of
that's why I liked this one better than all the others thus far. It's because to me it seemed like there were so many threads to follow that there was less room for filler. Because there were so many quote unquote main storylines.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. There's like 4. Let's go 4. And there's a lot of hopping around, and there's trying to okay. FOMO. What the heck is FOMO?
fear of missing out.
That works.
Oh, all right.
That works. And we have this infiltration mission where they're trying to pull off a heist.
I love heist.
Where they're trying to steal the seal to the Dark One's prison, one of the seals, and we've had 1 break in the Eye of the World, 2 break in Great Hunt, and there wasn't one in Dragon Reborn, but then we find another one here.
It's not broken yet.
Nope, it's not broken yet. And Moghedien and Nynaeve get into a fight where they're basically trying to shield each other, but then Nynaeve manages to grab a hold of the male Idom and smack Moghedien in the face. It gets her the win.
I love it. It's like they're having this epic wizard battle. That's described as if anybody walked in and watched them, they just see 2 girls staring at each other with intense hatred. And Nynaeve wins by hitting her in the head with a random object. It's just...
Which is honestly smart. Like, she theorized that the spider wouldn't see it coming, and she was right.
She was right. Thunk.
Thunk. But as she's trying to get away, she does tie off the weave, and because she's afraid that it'll go away when she stops being angry. And then, in the commotion of the aforementioned balefire wand going off all and sundry, Moghedien escapes, or it vanishes, whichever. We're not sure yet.
Not sure. I estimate either she had some sort of trick, or Nynaeve lost her concentration on the weave or something like that, but she tied it off, so shouldn't have mattered. At first, I thought maybe she got hit by the balefire, and that's another one of the 4 Forsaken. I got it right this time. Just
Killed
died.
by balefire.
Another one dead before they're ever important. It seems to be a running pattern with them so far.
Yeah. Though at least, like, Lanfear is kind of stuck around.
Yeah. Too bad she's kind of a lame character.
I like this whole thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. It's fine.
It was kind of off topic. I was just gonna say I like that this whole thing is like so dramatic for Nynaeve, and then you get back to Elaine, and she's basically just been low-key bullying the Panarch the whole time.
Yeah, that part's great. And just like, you, Amathera, will learn dignity.
You're going to get to be a serving maid in a tavern for a few weeks.
Yeah. And it's kind of just like, and the nice thing is there's actually a good liar revealed thing, or at least like obfuscated information revealed, where Aeginan, like earlier in the book, tells them, like, it's revealed that she's a Shantran, mostly because Baal Doman comes in and they have a brawl on the ground. Like, she attacks first, though, and he manages to hold his own. And he's actually kind of impressed by the fact that, like, she can beat him up.
He's a man. He is awesome. I like Baal Doman.
Yeah.
I like the way he talks.
It do be you.
The pirate.
It kind of is. Blue, you had something to say.
I also like that when he says that he had a seal on his boat once, like, Nynaeve just immediately discounts him. She's like, no, you didn't. There's only, like, 7 of them. Like, oh, all right, sure, whatever.
Like, honestly, that's accurate.
He had a seal. He had one of them. He just so happened to have one.
Yeah.
That's why there's 2 of them in the Great Hunt. Not the Great Hunt.
The Great Hunt. Yeah, the Great Hunt. You got it right. And then they decide to give the item to Egianin to toss in the ocean. They pocket the seal, and then that particular part of the book ends.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to work. Something just tells me that it's not going to work.
And then we have the White Tower. This will be shorter because not much attention is devoted to this. But essentially, the Amerlin seat's position is tenuous. And she thinks that she can use Min to try and pick out who the Black Aja are via her viewings. But the problem is, Min, who can see auras and images around a lot of people, sees a bunch of images of death and killing around a lot of Aes Sedai, and it's going to happen on the same day.
We also get images of the tower being broken, I think.
And then, exactly. And unfortunately, Swan Sanche and her Keeper of the Chronicles are stilled and labeled all but Black Aja. And Elida, who is probably the worst possible person to be the Amerlin, is now the Chief Aes Sedai.
She is the Amerlin, and she is the advisor to Morghese.
Yeah. Former advisor to Morghese. I think Morghese, considering like who she's hanging out with, is probably done with Aes Sedai.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems as though Lord, quote-unquote, Lord Gabriel is...
the advisor now.
Yeah. Especially since, like, he's created a problem. I imagine that it was him who started the riots, and then he calmed them down. Very much like Pedro Nile wanted to do with Rand.
Yep. Ida is a psychopath.
Yeah, she's clearly not. Like, she's not a... Like, when you get her POV, like, she's erratic a little bit.
She kills one of the novices.
Does it say that it's Elida?
I think it does, yeah. Because she's trying to figure out what happened to... Why is Min in the tower again?
Well, we see that the voice... Is Elida an emotionless, though?
She uses the power.
Yes. But when it's... But Elida... Do you think that Elida's Black Aja, then?
No, I don't think Elida is Black Aja.
Well, unless she's Black Aja, she can't use the power to kill someone.
Doesn't mean she... Well, it doesn't say that she used the power to kill them. It's just that she used the power to get the information out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And when she leaves the farm, it says there's just no sound there at all.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't Elida. Huh.
Because there is one other person that seems to be goading Elida on Alviarin, who becomes
the
white sister, yeah.
Alviarin was not amused when I suggested that gentlemen should have kids. It's with Aes Sedai in order to increase their numbers.
Oh, and then we get more Logain.
Yeah,
I was so upset that Logain was going to become Rand's teacher. That he was going to be the one who teaches him more about channeling.
Yeah. It seems as though it's kind of unfortunate that like Logain is kind of just a broken shell of a man now.
Well, we know something's gonna happen because Min keeps having her little premonitions of glory for him.
Yeah.
And from what Blue has said, for some reason he just has a lot of fanfic about him.
That too.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of fanfic.
Hello, Matthew Cole.
Hello, Matthew Cole. Lovely to see you. So we also have, and then kind of Min and the Mistress of the Kitchen's Laris, who apparently was a player in her day, and apparently nearly got hanged.
Now she's living vicariously through Min.
Yeah. It's just like
she quickly became one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, she's like, I am going to so miss dressing you. And Min's like, I hate wearing dresses.
Oh.
But she does love screwing around with Gawain just to kind of bug him.
Yeah.
Because somehow Galad does not recognize her.
Galad is kind
Is this
of
guy?
stupid, isn't he?
Blue, you were saying?
Oh, I was just saying, how dense is this guy? Like, how does he not recognize her? It's just makeup.
Just makeup and slightly longer hair.
Yeah.
Well, you see, Blue, men are very simple. We see a pretty face, we like the pretty face.
And you don't know if you've seen the pretty face before or not.
Nope.
Oh, goodness. Also her premonition with Gawain when he let her escape. Well, all of them escape.
Oh, yeah, the one that's flipping back and forth between proposing to Egwene and killing her.
Yeah. Was it proposing? I thought it was like...
Kneeling to have
kneeling.
her Bantrim as her warder.
Okay, as a warder, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, it's one or the other. And he lets them, after they get Min and Laris, like, I love the bit where just like Min, like was kind of like playing the guy, saying like she'd kiss him. And he's like, eh. And then Laris brained him with a frying pan or something.
A rolling pin.
Yeah. And then and the nice thing is like it's subtle, so it's like it's set up from the beginning, but you do like what Alviarin and Elida are up to something together from the minute Min shows up. And it's not mentioned, so it's then a gut punch when you like, oh, that's how far they're going to go with this. Wow. They really upturned things.
Yep. And then, like, what? Some like 10 warders and 12 sisters died in the in the coup.
Yeah,
including a whole bunch of the students and servants.
Yeah, and now like there's a bunch of sisters who like either have sworn who like were anti-Elida and for Elida.
And I mean, there's not a lot of Aes Sedai to begin with.
Yeah, and also like the Blue Aja. Oh wait, no. Like the Blue Aja, like most of like the blue is like out at the tower. They're like, no, F that.
Can we just shed a tear for the Grey Aja? They are so unimportant.
Yeah.
Poor dears.
But why is there no negotiators? Why do the negotiators suck in this situation?
Aggressive negotiations.
Yeah, they need aggressive negotiations. Well, actually, they need less aggressive negotiations. That's what got them into the problem in the first place.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that Elida was elected by the bare minimum sisters. That's a plot point for later.
Yeah, bare minimum.
Yep.
I think it's also hinted that none of the blue sitters showed up.
Yeah. Since there's like 3 per Aja, and it was the bare minimum, like a bare minimum majority.
Yeah.
And then that kind of like ends with Loghain, Swan Sanche, Lyanna, and Min riding away to try and Swan wants to try and figure out a way to get rid of Elida.
It's also hinted in earlier books that the sisters who got stilled, the previous Armelins who have been stilled because they did such a bad job, are forced to be made servants so they don't become figureheads for rebellion.
Right.
And kind of now Swan and Lyanna don't look like themselves anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They've
lost
like
agelessness.
Yep. And the ability and the inability to lie.
To be forced onto the 3 O's.
Yeah, the 3 O's got removed as soon as they got stilled.
Now they can lie.
Yep, they can lie like wool merchants. And I love that that's a phrase that like lying like wool merchants is a thing throughout the books. That's something that I love. Like just like the 2 Rivers really don't like these wool merchant guys.
No, they do not.
Like apparently the most untrustworthy people on the face of the planet, aside from Tar and Ferryman.
I also love how Two Rivers Tabak keeps showing up.
Yeah, or it's just like Two Rivers. It's like, it's not that big a commodity, and it's like in places like Tyr and Shinar, it's like a valuable commodity. Like the Two Rivers Tabak got like a bunch of fox pelts
Yeah.
from the
Everybody-
Seafolk.
Out since they know that there's trouble in the Two Rivers. They're like, but where am I going to get my tobacco?
Yeah. Yeah, and we forgot to mention the Sea Folk, where so Elaine and Nynaeve get passage to Tanchico on a Sea Folk ship, and they learn that Sea Folk windfinders are like the Aiel Wise Ones in that they can channel, and the White Tower has not just done anything with them because they just don't know about them.
It's also hinted that like the strands of air that they're pulling are massive.
Yeah, they're very powerful, like weather manipulators.
Oh, Smudge Stream finally came to an end. They must have been going for like 5 hours.
Yeah, it's like, well,
The first-
let's see. Oh wow, it's 4 hours. 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, let's try not to get off topic. Both me and Blue only have a limited amount of time.
Yeah, but then like after that, the Sea Folk will come into play because they keep talking about the Coromor, and that the Coromor is basically the Dragon Reborn, and it'll be their prophecies that will be fulfilled.
Yay.
And then finally, we have the Aiel Waste storyline, which lots of stuff happens in this one. Okay, so first things first is Rudion.
Yeah.
Is where Rand's an Aielman, it's confirmed, or at least like he's descended from Aiel, and a woman who went into the waste at the advice of a lady named Guitarra Moroso, who was also the Aes Sedai who foretold his birth.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. It's very interesting. So, who do you think that this Shail lady could be, based on the clues that have been left?
Blue, do you have any idea?
So, in the Dragon Reborn, the cook says that Rand looks like this specific lady.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, Don. We haven't read the book 7 times over like you have.
They say that he looked like Tigraine, the princess of Andor who ran away.
Oh.
Oh, which makes that stuff you were saying earlier about that.
Oh, that makes him Elaine's cousin. No. No. Oh, no. Oh, no. They've
So-
been kissing.
About plot threads and Crow's just like incest.
Why is it a thing that keeps popping up on your stream?
Well, technically, like Morgaze is not but Morgaze is actually not immediate family to Tigraine. She got it. She was basically because Queen Modrelaine had no kids. They had a succession where they voted for the queen.
Okay.
So, and supposedly all the families are descended from this one chick like 1,000 years ago, but
Brahma intensifies.
but it's like Egwene. Rand is not only Aiel, but he's also partially Andoran royalty.
He's going to be the first king of Andor.
Hmm.
All right. And then Matt goes into Rudion as well.
Yeah, where Rand goes in and he's got Matt with him because Matt like figures out, okay, I'll go in, and that really enrages a guy named Couladin, who's a jerk, very xenophobic.
Fuck that guy.
Okay, I second that. But yeah, we have Couladin, who says like his brother Muradin is going to be the next clan chief, and problem is a whole lot of basically the Aiel clan chief test is you have to see the history of the Aiel. And it used to be that the Aiel were tinkers, essentially, from the first book. And actually, the tinkers are either descended biologically or philosophically from a bunch of Aiel who abandoned their quest to shepherd a group of Terangrial away from the breaking of the world, because the Aes Sedai had a premonition that the Aiel would produce the Dragon Reborn, and they didn't want all of them to die because they followed the way of the leaf.
And with the leaf, he will destroy you.
Yep.
When
And
that one was said, it's like, what in the world does that mean?
Yeah. Or slay his people like with the sword of peace is another one. Or like where Moraine has this whole prediction where like she wrong foots you deliberately by saying like binds the shadow sworn to his will and fulfills the ancient dream. And that's not referring. She thinks it refers to Samael, the guy in Ilion, and saying that Ilion under Samael is surely a forsaken city, but in reality it's Rudion.
Mm-hmm.
And the Forsaken is Asmodean that he makes his teacher. But we'll get to that. We're jumping all over the place, and hopefully the people watching this don't think that we're completely discombobulated.
No, we're under pressure to try to get this done in like 8 minutes.
Yeah, true. But basically, he goes through the history backward and finds out that the Aiel used to serve the Aes Sedai and did no violence. We also see something very interesting that will come into play later, that apparently there was a third source that people wanted to try to get to, and that source turned out to be the Dark One. And so the reason why the Boar was broken into was because people thought they could find a new source power that men and women could use. What do you think that entails for the story?
I'm sorry, you go ahead, Blue.
So my thing is that I think to me this is the divergence where, okay, so Rand doesn't have to go insane and die. Because to me, if they are two separate sources, then that kind of at least alludes to the fact that they can be separated again. Because they talk about the Dark One's power being a taint on the source, but that doesn't mean it can't be removed, especially if they are literally two separate entities, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if we are to believe that the Dark One wasn't lying, the father of lies, he says that this has gone over thousands of times, this cycle. They've been doing this over and over again since the wheel began turning.
Mm-hmm.
So, and judging by like how it seems like the whole book has to think about history repeating itself and time is a wheel that keeps spinning and turning, I estimate that because it seems like they broke the Dark One out of a prison without knowing what he was, or rather what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeds into my idea that he's like some sort of Lovecraftian monstrosity.
Mm.
And he might have just been like feeding whispers, showing little bits of his power as like it's a trap and stuff to break out of his prison yet again, to break the world. And then he got stopped again because that's how the cycle keeps moving and going. But this is supposed to be the final and last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of like the brother of Couladin breaks because he can't handle the fact that the Aiel slowly abandoned the way of the leaf until finally there was just a small group that slowly died out that built this city that said like the Gen Aiel, the clan that is not, and that's the reason why. And they allow the Tinkers to cross the waste because they're either biologically or philosophically descended from the first Aiel, though they don't know exactly why. And this plays into the ending where Rand, in order to prove that he actually went into Rudion, tells the Aiel their history, and it breaks a lot of them.
Yeah, it drives a whole lot of them mad.
Well, because they're big on honor and oaths and stuff like that, and then to find out that their entire civilization is built on breaking an oath.
Yeah. And somehow Couladin has those goddamn dragons on his wrist. It's like, how the hell did that happen?
So that's actually that was Osmodian.
Oh, that was Osmodian?
Yeah. So, dang, there's so much to cover. But I'll try to keep this quick. But basically, Osmodian and Lanfear are in the Waste, two of the Forsaken, and they're with this peddler group that Rand and the others meet up with on their way through Al-Khair Dal, which is this meeting place of the chiefs. And they're in disguise. Lanfear is disguised as a hideous old woman.
With the...
Yeah, I see you for what you really are, and which is ugly.
Ugly.
10 points to Gryffindor to whoever can guess that quote.
Why would I want to give points to Gryffindor?
Yeah,
Okay,
Slytherin's the best
you're
house.
in. Okay, Slytherin. 10 points to Slytherin to whoever.
I still don't know the quote though.
It's she's the man, the 12th Night modern Shakespeare adaptation.
Oh my god, I have not seen that since like middle school.
We're getting off topic. We got
but Matt also goes with and he goes through another door frame and he thinks it'll answer his questions, but he gets something very different. He gets 3 things.
He gets the spear, which is awesome. He gets the fox head necklace, which does something. And he gets the memories filled, but not with the memories he wanted, but with the memories of what we assume to be his bloodline or past lives.
Mm-hmm.
And when asked how does he know these things that Matt should not know, his response, the character that Don says reminds him a lot of me, is I read a book once.
Yes. Exactly.
Damn you, Dunn. It's just like, I can see why Dunn thinks of Matt as a lot like me. I read it in a book once. Ah!
Your sense of humor is very similar as well.
Yeah.
Pat. You're okay, dude.
At least Matt's awesome.
Yeah. And kind of side plot, Egwene is training with the Wise Ones, and the Wise Ones are trying to get Rand like more fully on side with the Aiel and not just see them as, oh, you're basically tools for me to use.
Oh, and someone else is in love with Rand.
Yeah, she fell in love with him. Oops.
Which one would that be? Abienda, I'm assuming.
Abienda.
Yeah.
Matt accidentally proposed to her. No, Rand accidentally proposed.
Or at least like said, I want to date you. Accidentally said, I want to date you.
She's so confused. That poor girl.
Yeah. And like.
Hey, stop that. Like, now you guys, sorry.
And it does seem as though like something in Rudion made her hate Rand. And it does say that basically what happens is it's almost like your test to be accepted, only intensified, where it shows you all the possible futures that you could possibly have.
Yeah, I think she saw futures with herself with Rand, and because of how much she cares about Elaine, she doesn't want to betray her, so she hates Rand because she likes Rand.
And that feeds into Min's prophecy that Rand's going to have 3 wives.
Right?
She hasn't met Min yet.
Yeah. And also, Rand keeps having dreams all over the place of these 3 women. And one time Lanfear walks in on his dreams, buck naked, and tries to do the nasty, but he ain't having it. And then Cody walks in on it. Yeah.
That's pretty much the long and short of it.
And at the end, there's, after some journeying to Al-Kerdal, they finally get there, and Couladin leaves in the middle of a Shadow Spawn attack that Osmodian structured in order to distract Rand and all the others from the Shido leaving. And Couladin declares himself the Kar Karn, but Rand gets there just in time, and they have basically a discussion, and Couladin claims that he's seen all these things. And Rand goads him into revealing that no, he didn't go through. He's a liar. By saying, I saw these things. And he said, no, we have always been warriors. And the clan chiefs who have actually been through Rodion say he's the Kar Karn. Which is great.
Of all the villains, Couladin is just a dick.
Yeah.
He's just an asshole. At least everybody else is evil, but come on, man.
Yeah. And it seems as though he's being goaded on by Sivana, his brother's widow.
Yep, she's a dark friend. I'm saying it now. She's a dark friend.
Okay, we have. I'll need to record the predictions. So we got Matt is going to be the future king of Manetheren. Well, maybe with Perrin. We have Dark Friend. We have Sivana is a Dark Friend. We have what else? You guys are predicting that Aegyanan and Bail Delman are going to get together.
Yep.
What are the other ones? Just so
calling out dark friends like I'm a white cloak.
Yeah, that works.
Laugh, damn it.
That the trio that we talked about is going to marry Rand, all of them.
Yeah, they're all going to marry Rand. He's going to be and I love that moment where Matt says, he's either the luckiest man in the world or the biggest idiot.
And we all looked at Rand. It's yep. All right. Unfortunately, it is very late for me, and I have to get up very early.
Yeah. Before that point, we get the fight in Rodion, where Rand figures out how to travel or skim, where he goes into this gateway, and it finally explains what exactly happened at the Eye of the World, where he walked up that set of steps. He basically skimmed into the world of dreams where the Dark One was. And before that, he traveled instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fights Osmodian over the biggest male sa'angreal ever. And they destroy large sections of Rodion and the mountain. That's how powerful this thing is. But Rand uses another secondary Angreal to cut him off from the Dark One. So now Osmodian is forced to be his teacher. And that's where the book ends, where Rand is getting ready to take the Aiel out of the waste, and he's got a teacher now.
Yay!
Yay!
But yes, that concludes our discussion on the second 2 books in the Wheel of Time. The Dragon Reborn and the Shadow Rising. I tried to keep it as organized as I could, and I feel like we kept it pretty well, and I'll probably use this format again with the next couple. Do you think that this worked and we should keep using it? Or do you think that like it would be better to just kind of go chronologically through the book? What do you think?
I don't know, because this seemed to work out really well. There's just so much to talk about.
Yeah, and honestly, I think trying to go, if the books are going to continue in this vein where there's a lot of different stories to follow, I think going chronologically would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So
Unless we do one book at a time.
I will definitely like create a Prezi for all of them and make sure that I am creating like one per plot line. It's actually easier for me, and like kind of just like picking the intersect points and just making them separate things. I'm really excited for these next two. The next two are going to be fun.
And then we get into the rut.
Yeah, that's going to be... I imagine 10 and 11 are going to be very quick get-throughs. Well, 9 and 10 especially. It's definitely nothing. Very little happens in 11, but anything happens in 10. I mean, it's basically over like 11, 14 days or something, as opposed to these books, which cover like relatively long span of time. But anyway,
a couple of months each, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much to my lovely guests. Please, before we head out, pimp your stuff.
Okay. I have a YouTube channel, Blue Teddy Narrations. I read fairy tales and draw pictures for them. This month, since it's October, I'm going to be reading scary short stories that I write and doing pictures of those, and that'll be the last 3 weekends of the month. So yeah, come check me out if you want.
All right. I am Dr. Crow. I also have a YouTube channel, which is in the description down below, along with Blue and all the other members of Done Stream Team. I do streaming where I cover various videos I find on the internet and discuss their talking points and debates that they put forward on why certain things in pop culture are good or bad. I also perform magic, which I just did a show celebrating my 50th subscriber count. Yay! So I highly suggest you go see that one if you want to see some of my magic.
I need to do some kind of celebration when I get to 150.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me mooch off you, Crow.
Yeah. You're very welcome.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you all very much. And please check these guys out and subscribe to them. Their content is definitely deserving of a watch. And I even pop on a few of Mr. Crow's streams, like his School of Movies marathon.
Marathon. We almost killed Hack.
Yeah.
So depressed after that.
Oh, well, much as bad as School of Movies is, I think Confused Matthew is worse.
Oh boy, can't wait to do one of his videos.
Yeah, we're doing it one Monday.
Oh.
It's on Lion King.
Oh.
You made Crow sad.
But at least we're defending a good movie rather than tearing a bad movie down.
Oh, Crow's sad. I'm sad, Crow, now.
You poor man. But anyway, thank you all. And I have to say one last thing.
Go! Holy shit. Okay, we're going.